gonna be a bumpy road.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell at before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, good to say I dabbled in stand-up or something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt.
I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean.
Yes, welcome. Welcome to Whatever Thursday. We'll start with a little golf clap. This is your favorite, whether you know it or not, this is your favorite Whatever podcast recap show. It is, because we might be the only one. I am here with my compatriot, my first mate in podcasting, Fealty.
Hello.
Hello. I see you have your candles lit in the back there, your battery operated candles.
Except for that one. That one died. I got to replace a battery in it.
Oh, I like that. I like that big lamp. We had the same lamp in our last apartment.
Oh, yeah?
But
IKEA.
It's one kick and it's all over. Like if that takes one elbow or one high kick, if that puppy rips, you're done.
Oh, yeah. I get very cautious around it every time I got to plug in the LED lights I have going across the ceiling.
If you just
because
finger it a little bit,
it's
done.
And there's one stain hidden on the back of it from an unfortunate cough while eating food. So
what?
That's enough. Yeah,
I
was
stained
eating.
It?
Yeah, I cough stained it with some chicken parm.
Oh, a cough. Like I could totally actually forgive. A sneeze would do the same thing if you're eating something and you sneeze and you're just spitting out food against your will. That's probably I hate sneezing so much, but if I could hate something more than sneezing, it would be sneezing while you have food in your mouth. It's all bets are off. It's like you're just falling off a cliff. You're like, well, this is it.
Especially at what level of chewing you have on the food too. If you're at almost a full chew, it's just everything's just coming out. You could try and do a full nose sneeze to keep the mouth closed, but things will come out. Luckily for me,
it wasn't. Or no.
It was like a cough, sneeze, choke. I was choking on the chicken parm, and that caused a need for a sneeze for some reason.
And you couldn't think to direct it away from the very stainable lamp?
That wasn't always over there. It used to be over here, somewhere over there. And the table was across this way, so I was sitting on the couch there, and it literally, it projectiled. It had to be a good 5 feet, and
God.
I was more so thinking, well, this is the moment. This is when it happens. I live alone. I'm eating chicken parm. How did he die? He died on his favorite food, some chicken parm.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of emotions and thoughts happening. So unfortunately, the large hunk of chicken parm that I tried to swallow without chewing because it was so delicious went into the lamp.
I could just imagine the detective scraping evidence off your lamp, being like, "How did he die? Let's go to the lamp."
Yeah. And then they turn on the lamp, and it's like, ah.
And there's a dead squirrel inside.
Yeah, those things. Yeah. Unfortunate, but I lived at least. I lived. That's what matters.
I was just watching the new Squid Game reality show. They had a bunch of episodes, and then they just released the last couple of episodes. It's nuts. Let me tell you, this reality show Squid Game, it is exactly how I imagine prison would be. At the end of the day, everyone is split up by race and everyone's out for themselves. That's what I've learned from the Squid Game reality
Really?
show. Oh yes, it's so racist. All the women gang up and they just decide unanimously to like hate the strong white men that are like the alphas. Oh, and they're like, we have to stick together because we're women.
Are you spoiling it for Fealty?
I'm not spoiling it.
I'm not gonna watch
spoiling it. I'm not spoiling it. Because the writing is on the wall. Like you can. I'm not spoiling it. There's nothing to spoil. I haven't even seen the end.
Well, so
all right. I'm
are
gonna
they
start talking about it?
Well, are they separated on purpose, or they just did it because they're all racist?
I think everyone is racist.
Yeah.
I think it's just everyone's true nature bubbles to the surface.
I only watched a few episodes of the actual show Squid Game. Something about it just like it perturbs me. It's like it's too close to reality. Like this is where we're going in the world. We're all having to figure out how to break a piece out of a cookie without breaking the cookie. That's everyday life. So I watched that. I'm gonna stop saying I just realized I said it twice in one sentence. I'm gonna do it this week. No more knows. Maybe some gollies.
This is what streaming will do to a person. Shows you all of your insecurities because the chat, the people will let you know what you suck at. It's great.
Well, back in the day, I actually have an emote on my old Twitch. It's the golly emote. I say golly so much, so I paid someone on Fiverr to make a cartoon of my face, and it says golly under it. So like people would just spam the chat anytime I said golly with my golly emote. Coolest moment ever, not gonna lie. From my early days of streaming, I was like, when Twitch first made emotes, I was streaming before they even made emotes. And I was like, wow, it'd be so cool if one day I have like my own emote on Twitch. And I do, like I made it to that point. It was pretty sick. But like, even like, and golly. So one night we did a drinking game and I pretty much died within 30 minutes. It was just, I couldn't stop saying it. And then as I got more drunk, I couldn't stop saying it. There was no control.
We all have
so I'm going to do it tonight.
Where if like we were turned into a doll with a string on your back that was pulled, like anyone listening, you know what your top 3 catchphrases would be. Like if someone pulled on your doll string, what you would say. Like for you, it would be golly for sure.
I love that one. It's a fun word. It covers everything. Some people cuss. I don't really cuss that much. Dang it, I said it.
And
but golly. Yeah. It's better than I feel.
My pull string catchphrase would definitely be aw.
Well, you also you do sing words. It's not like
I would also pull and be like, I feel bad. That would be another one. I feel bad for this person, or I feel bad, or like a lot of feeling bad.
Or when you finish like on a midim, like when you finish like a topic or something, you're like, all right.
All right.
Yeah, it's like everything was said. I've covered it and I'm done with this. I'm moving on.
I'm trying to read the quote. I'm trying so hard.
Son of a gun. I could do it. I could do it.
You're just gonna
focus.
need a lobotomy, and then you'll be able to say different words.
Yeah. Anyone watching, drinking game tonight, if I say or golly, feel free to either drink or super chat.
They're gonna go to the hospital. Don't drink every time.
I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna say.
Frank Wolf Connell's in the chat. Frank, I call him Wolfie. He was at the Tampa show. He gave me the cuddliest, cutest little like bear blankie wrap thing for the baby. I'm like, I tried to put it on. That's how much I love this thing. I put it on my head and I was like, it just wrapped around my neck. And I was like, oh, it's so cozy. And there's like little feet, little footy parts. Oh my God. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. Anyway.
Yeah, you got a bunch of clothes. I was seeing on the
and then
we
went to Target. The blankie bear. Yes, Keanu. And then we went to Target and see, when you leave New York and you go to a Target, and I know I was supposed to not go to Target because they support the agenda. But we had just so much time to kill in Tampa. There was nothing else to do but go to the Target. And when you leave New York, you realize the stores are not as picked over and worked through. And you're like, and we found this whole set of like bear themed baby clothes. It was like the bib, the socks, the stretchy things. It was so cute. I don't know what came over me. I bought all of them.
That's understandable.
So,
But then again, judging by from what Frank said about his first kid and how big it was, yeah, I don't know how long.
God. I hope I don't pop out a 10-pounder.
I honestly don't know how girls do it. Like when I think about girls, like you're a kid, you're a child. You don't know anything about what's going to happen to you later in life. And then you find out, oh yeah, every month you're going to bleed, by the way. And then someday you're going to have to push a like 8-pound human out of you. Like as a dude, I don't know how I would have been able to handle that. Like mentally, I'm like, I do what? Like, are you kidding
I'm sure
me?
you men have taken 8-pound craps.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? You do it so
Oh,
effortlessly.
I've taken poop so big that you had to chop them up to flush them. That's
Oh, you're not chopping them up, are you?
what.
All right, let's move on.
No, it's
Cool.
unfortunate, but yeah, we had one bathroom, 4 people in the house. Sometimes you had to hold it for a really long time, and yeah, that unfortunateness. But yeah, I don't know how girls do that. I really don't. It's unbelievable.
Your
so.
body just stretches. I think now I'm in the
Mhm.
period of pregnancy where you keep reading about how loose your body is getting, your ligaments, your joints are getting softer, everything is stretching. You're like, great. Just great.
And on top
Everything's
of
gonna
that, you
be
can
just
get to live
flapping in the
aliens.
breeze.
But you get to live aliens. Like I can't imagine if I look down at my belly and there's a hand like pressing out of my stomach or foot. Like that's unbelievable.
I can't believe things are being made in there. All I have to do is not get hammered. Like not drink, actually. Correction.
Yeah.
All I have to do is not drink and a person will get made.
That's unbelievable.
It's the most low effort, high accomplishment thing I think I'll ever do.
I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. I would be so freaked out. Like I wish I could be a dad, but there's also a part of me if I get a girl pregnant and then I see a hand pressing out of her stomach, I think I'd have to hide the fact that I'm gonna be like,
Aw.
so creepy. You
Be
know,
funny
like
if you're
you can
giving birth and
high
you just see
five your kid.
you see a hand just come out first.
Oh.
Like, pull me out, Dad. Pull me out the rest of the way.
Yeah, my dad wasn't in the delivery room for my brother. He's 7 years older than me, but he was in there for me. And, you know, they were telling me when I was growing up, like, he got woozy, and the doctors gave him air because he was getting woozy from it. So, hopefully that doesn't run in the family. I hope I'll be a very strong guy. Like, yes, push it out. You could do it.
Yes,
Like,
you could come watch my birth if you want.
Nope. I'll be in the waiting room. I'm happy to help out in any way in the waiting room for the family. I'm there for whatever. Oh, it's so scary. I'm rooting for you. You're gonna do great. It's gonna be wonderful. Even if you want to do a water birth. Are you really considering the water birth? You mentioned that on the other stream.
I think it would be cool. I just don't think anyone would support me. I think everyone around me would be like, bitch, go to the hospital. Come on. We don't have time for this. Just drop me off at the community pool.
Well, yeah, I mean, you spent a lot of time in pools doing your diving. Maybe you
Yes, I
could
would
dive and the baby comes out.
I would love to give birth in a kiddie pool. Like actually in Oceanside, New York, the first place I lifeguarded. That would be fitting.
The baby could dive. The first thing a baby does is a dive out of you into some water.
It'll just flip
You know?
around the umbilical cord and like stick the landing. No splash.
And you can have people there to rate it a 10 as it lands.
Aw. That's cool.
Oh gosh.
It's basically a sea creature. It's swimming
Yeah.
around in there.
Well, I was watching videos recently about like babies learning to swim, and like these people, they just kind of throw the baby in the water.
babies already know how to swim. That's the biggest thing is people wait way too long to actually teach their kids to swim. So they sort of like forget it. And then the fear part takes over. But it's like, we all inherently know, like babies can float and figure it out. You just gotta, as a parent, not be so afraid to go for it.
I don't understand how like they don't like breathe in water. Like they know not to breathe in water. Like I can't imagine that.
They spent most of their whole upbringing in water.
Yeah.
But they weren't breathing through their lungs yet. They were breathing through the placenta. Oh well, or the cord.
Yeah. I wonder if when a baby's underwater, if they're just expecting to be able to breathe, since that's what they're used to. Like, why do I feel this like sensation? Like, I need something right now.
In every dream, just about every dream I have that I'm in water, I can breathe underwater, like no problem.
My goodness, Ruben doesn't know how to swim. You could do
Oh
it,
my
man.
God, Ruben, you're not even black. What's your excuse?
I loved swimming. I had an Aquanaut badge in the Cub Scouts. Just saying, I learned all the stuff in the water there. I loved swimming. We used to go to the beach by me, and like, I would just stay in the water all day long to the point where, like, since I'm half
fun.
Sicilian, if I tan, like, I turn like dark brown. So like I like as a kid, like you wouldn't know what I was during the summertime because I was so tan from being at the beach all day. But like if I lifted up my shorts, it was just like white. Like...
At the beginning of the summer, you get the benefit of the doubt, not at the end of the summer.
It's like,
at
what
the
did
end of the
this
summer,
kid
you're
do?
getting profiled.
Yeah, people are starting to question, like, is your last name Diaz or something? Like
Xavier. Okay, what do we have for the people today?
All right, so we're doing something a little bit different this week. Hopefully people don't mind, but we're going to basically just do a straight watch through of the Destiny debate. Why did that take over? Oh, we're on a different layout right now.
Wait a second. Why is he sitting in a different spot?
Who, Brian? Well, Brian is going to, I'm going to say, moderate this. Because he is the worst moderator I've ever seen on the face of this earth. He walks away most of the time, is nowhere to be found. He lets them talk over each other the whole time, and never is like, all right, 2 minutes for you, and then they're going to get their rebuttal. You know, like how a debate moderator does things.
Yes.
So this is like a wild, chaotic, like... thing. And I watched 50 minutes of it, and then I finally decided, no, I want this to be like one of the only times where if we get past 50 minutes, it's all a surprise to me too. You know, I don't have to do timestamps and stuff. Oh yeah, Anna's in the chat. Hi, Anna. He does bring up Star Trek in regards to porn and stuff. So they are debating porn and the effects on people and whether it's good or not. So yeah.
Ooh.
It's wild. Now, let me get the...
I like wild.
Oh, yeah. I'll get it on 1.25. And should I start it up?
Let's start it up.
All right, here we go.
Yep.
Welcome to a special debate edition of the Whatever podcast.
Yep.
Oh, I sent Anna the link in case you're bored, Anna. Should I send it to Keanu too?
I sent it to Keanu already, actually.
Well, then we have our bases covered.
They'll both become the unofficial co-people of this.
Oh, speak of the she-devil.
I'm here.
A vision in
Hello.
pink. A vision in carnation pink.
Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you feel
Our cotton candy queen. Keanu
Hello,
Thompson.
darlings. Can you see me, hear me, feel me? Feel me?
No.
We can feel to you.
Beep, boop, beep, 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 beep.
Boop, beep,
I
beep.
used to do that, then I felt it was weird to use my own name.
All right, better. Can you? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Hello, darlings.
Hello.
Are you ready for... Did you watch this already, Keanu?
Oh, I've seen some of it, but not all. So I'm quite excited. Let her rip.
All right, here we go.
I'm your host and moderator, Brian Atlas.
Lies.
A few quick announcements before the show begins. This podcast is viewer-supported heavy YouTube
Brian
demonetization, so
Stephen
please
Hawking.
consider donating through Streamlabs instead of soup chatting, as YouTube takes a brutal 30% cut. Some quick maths for y'all. So if you soup chat 100, YouTube takes 30. If you donate 100, Streamlabs only takes 3. Streamlabs.com/whatever. Link is in the description. For the sake of a smooth stream and debate, we have boosted the TTS triggers. Donations and super chats $10 and up will be displayed in stream over.
Oh, should we also point out Destiny is getting divorced, so throughout this whole talk, he is getting divorced.
Yes, and some people think that's hearsay or that's a rumor, or maybe he's just saying it to get clicks. But,
Clicks and likes and likes and clicks.
Actually, I was reading the article that came out, and I found that there was a Discord post he made about it not that long ago, about how 2.5 months ago they split up, and it was like really a rough thing on his life. But I found a video from 5 months ago of him complaining about his wife. She's from Sweden, and the taxes there are 60% on anything you make. And he was complaining about how they had to pay over like 200 grand in taxes.
Whoa.
You know, I said, golly. But,
golly.
yeah, so I wonder if it's not just a tax purposes, like if they get split up.
Yes, maybe they just have to do it for financial reasons.
Could be.
Yeah, but they're also saying that she fell in love with this really untoward man in Sweden who treats her badly. And yeah.
An untoward man in Sweden, a Swedish untoward man.
Was he a chef perchance? Yorkie.
The Swedish chef. Oh goodness gracious. But yeah, so I honestly think it was tax purposes, because when they're married, they're sharing the salary. So,
they had, or their marriage was just so open that it fell out.
Yeah, it's very Swedish of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could all be a work, and they're gonna come around and say that they're the most open marriage, so open that they're married to other people. That's how it could work out.
So open, we're not even married anymore.
They just so open, they just both evaporate.
Oh, we got a super chat here.
Sergey Berengard. I'm going to pronounce everyone's name in an accent tonight. Slow it down. Destiny talks faster than he thinks. I love this comment so much. From Baka. Mine is so open you could call it prolapse.
Wow.
Just as a funny word to me.
Prolapse?
Are you guys prolapse or anti-lapse?
Currently, I am anti-lapse, thankfully.
Yes, I think we all are.
How's the chat? Are you prolapse or anti-lapsed? Or are you lapse
I feel
phobic?
like we got
Tell us your lapses in judgment.
Got a bunch of anti-lapsers in the chat.
Rad's pro. Rad's pro.
Oh, prolapse.
The anti-lapsers, them on January 6th was just terrible, those anti-lapsers.
An insurlaption.
Insurlaption.
Insurlaptionist. Golly. All right, should we get into this?
Let's get into it.
Here we go. I'm going to keep it at 1.25. Destiny doesn't talk much the first 50 minutes, so hopefully it won't be too crazy.
Relay donations and super chats, $50 and up, will be read, answered. If you want to interact nearly instantly with us and weigh in on the debate, consider sending a TTS, text-to-speech message. $300 and up triggers TTS. TTS is via Streamlabs only. Please see the description for all triggers and full details. If the TTS is too disruptive, we might shift them to an interval where we just go through all the TTS, because if it's just too disruptive for the debate, we don't want it to be ruining the quality of the show and debate.
He does.
Any
Looks
super
more,
guys, any super chats and TTS need to be on
diabolical.
topic, please.
I know. It's like, what's going to happen? Are you going to
These
slice
chairs
these
just start
people open on the
spinning around.
table? Are they going to fight to the death, Brian? Why?
Looks like he's about to force choke someone. Like,
He does. I wore my green flannel to match him today. Just saying.
I just want him to slowly morph into Stephen Hawking. Is that so much to ask?
Why not? We would love it.
Stephen Hawking with a weird back scratching
Until-
dildo.
He's just
Yeah.
like talking out of a box, like, I think
Your
you're
box has a
pretty.
British accent, though. So
You
can
are a
talk
low
like this.
value woman.
I was like, "What is your age?" And he just
Body
re-says that same thing
Body
over and
count.
over.
count.
Body count. He just keeps pushing the
Body
same button
count.
over. Body
Body
count. Body
count.
count.
Body
Body
count.
count.
Body
Age.
count.
Age.
Body count.
Age. Age. Body count.
50 people does not compute.
Beep,
Does
boop,
not
boop, beep,
compute.
beep.
And then
I
random,
hate
Nick,
myself.
you suck. Nick, I hate the work you do. You're the worst person ever to work on the
Fine.
stream.
Why don't you just leave?
Hold the mic closer to your
Is
face,
that
please.
a Tamagotchi?
Wow. Well, technically, he's the Tamagotchi now in that situation. He has to wait for someone to feed him and take care of him and play with him.
He's still waiting
Feed
for
my
that.
diaper.
Diaper, please.
Diaper. Diaper.
Diaper.
Wow.
Get closer to the mic.
Get closer to the mic, please. Help.
Oh God.
He just short circuits and starts sparking. The whole place is ablaze. It would be the greatest end to this podcast.
It would also be the most expensive chair for someone with ALS that has ever existed. Also, beep, 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 beep.
Beep, beep, beep.
Got some chat.
It's the lick a lot of puss. Destiny looks homeless.
I wonder what the OBJ symbol was. Yeah, I can't see it on
I don't
anything.
know.
Oh, well.
Maybe it's L. Lyndon B. Johnson.
That's
No.
what I was thinking. And it's
Maybe
not that.
Always
right?
B. Johnson.
Always be Johnson.
Original
Oh,
BJ.
Biden Jr. Ooh. Everyone remembers that. The OG.
The OB.
Keanu's mom would have a good wording for that acronym. All right, let's get back on into it.
Destiny's not going to address any private relationship details. You can still dunk on Jasmine and Lila if you want. Not Trent, though. He's a bit sensitive. So.
It's true.
Without further ado,
All
I'm
the
joined
men
today
in
by
this show have
Destiny, famous
tiny
internet
hands.
personality, live streamer, and political commentator. Joining him is Jasmine Jafar, the self-described hoe
Yes,
lawyer.
I
She
love
does
her.
porn and OnlyFans. We have Lila Rose. She's the founder and president of the pro-life organization Live Action, and Trent Horn.
If you couldn't
Trent
tell
earned
by that
master's degrees in the fields of
jacket.
theology, philosophy, and bioethics. Trent is an adjunct professor of apologetics at Holy Apostles College, and he is the author of 9
Holy
books.
Apostles.
Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Brian.
So we originally planned to have a proper debate moderator who was going to join us. Unfortunately, there was an emergency and they couldn't make it. So this is going to be a very laissez-faire when it comes to the moderation.
moderation
For the most part, I'm just going to let you
emergency.
guys talk. The topic of today's debate is sex work bad for society? And I think a good jumping off point, if you can each one by one summarize your position on this topic, starting with Destiny and then Jasmine and then Lila and then Trent. Also, we ought to define
Okay.
for each other in the audience what is meant by the term sex work. I mean, sex work
I
strikes
like
me as a
these
sort
teams.
of nebulous, vague term meaning anything from taking non-nude lingerie
They're pretty
photos all
good.
the way to selling
I like the team of
$5
Destiny and
blowjobs in
Jasmine.
the back lot of a 7-Eleven. So go ahead, starting with you, Destiny.
Yeah, I think when we ask if sex work is good or bad for society, I think it's important to recognize that there are forms of entertainment that we can consume that aren't necessarily like good, but
we
they don't
making
necessarily
his
do
voice
bad.
more
It's just a matter
high-pitched,
of whether or
or
not
is
consuming
that-
some things for entertainment purposes.
I don't think so. I'll switch it down to normal really quick.
Wait,
I
let me
don't
just
think it
see.
is.
Way to emasculate him.
Did we do something to make him sound more high? I just
Let's see. So
let me
on normal,
Wait, let me just test. Maybe it's something on our end, audio wise.
It's something on our end, we assure.
it wasn't the estrogen in his
Just
system.
real quick.
Oh, here we go.
Is like a thing we want to defend in society. I think broadly
Nope.
speaking, we do.
Okay.
We would
Nope.
say that like video games, for instance,
right.
aren't necessarily good, but I don't know if we would call them bad as long as they're enjoyed in an appropriate environment with an appropriate level of consumption. So I think as long as we say that people want to buy sex work and people want to sell sex work, and if it can be done so in a way that is safe to both parties,
Yeah.
and we can't see any like clear or obvious damage to society, then I think
I'm
that
agreeing
transaction ought to be
with
protected.
him.
And I think I would say like all other forms of entertainment, we would say it's a good thing in society.
Jasmine has
Yeah, so I
enough
think,
cleavage for like 4 people.
Honestly, that's the longest line I've ever seen. My
That
God,
is-
it's wrapped around the block.
That is a family value size amount of cleavage. Like that'll last you through 3 pandemics.
I know. Save some for the rest of us. My God.
She's got cleavage in reserve.
I know. Okay.
Imagine when she gets
comfortable
pregnant.
She is talking
Oh
with
my
it too.
God.
I'd be like, oh no, what's going to happen? But she knows. I'm like,
If
I wonder
Jasmine
if
were
it
to
gets
get
in the
pregnant,
way of
they would-
doing things.
Yes, of course
know?
they do.
Like washing dishes or something.
Bending over,
Making a
getting dressed.
sandwich.
trying not to bump into things.
try jogging. I wonder what that's like. Wow.
It's hell.
She does make me change my mind a little bit on my like for the smaller boobs. I don't know.
She makes you change your mind?
She's calling
Yeah, a
you
little
over
bit.
to the boob side.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to take a nap on those?
I
You know?
Get your face right in there.
You could live in there.
Yeah.
You could have your mail sent there.
Have my last moment of life between them.
That's how a lot of guys would probably choose to go out if they could.
She also has a very beautiful face.
Yes, and her body is really nice.
See, if Canada made that the way you'd go out in their self-chosen way of going out, that they would lower the world population down to their desired 500 million. The WEF, it would work.
Yeah.
However much back pain she's dealing with, it's worth it.
Wait, what is that slogan for? Like, maybe it's worth it. Maybe it's Maybelline or something.
Maybe she's born with it.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Well, she's definitely born with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Sex is the drive everybody has, and there's always going to be a demand for consensual sexual services, and there's always going to be people who are willing to supply it. I think a society that grants its citizens certain civil liberties and freedoms, like the ability, like sexual autonomy and the freedom to control their own sex lives, is better for society. And I don't think adding money into that should really change anything. I think anytime we're addressing whether something is good for society, we have to think of how society would look if we were to try to come in and remove that thing. And I think, for one, there isn't at least compelling evidence that sex work or porn or any of these things are harmful enough that we should try to do that, especially if we compare it to other things that we allow. And also the times that people have tried to come in and restrict those things haven't shown to be very successful.
Let's start with Lila again.
Okay.
Yeah, if you did
And
restrict it, it
apologies
would
for any
just go to
coughing. I've had a cough for 3 weeks.
The biggest argument, I hope, which they discussed, is like, if you make porn illegal, it will surely go to the black market, which makes everyone involved less safe.
I just remember this gentleman here. That's why I thought I don't think I have seen this at all. So this is exciting. That's why I just.
Does she have a handful of lozenges in front of her?
Yeah, she has a little cold. She's about to explain it.
Well, that's gonna hold her back in this.
Oh, she has
No.
That's -1 right there.
No, like really, like for what I saw for the first 50 minutes, the only person who doesn't talk is Destiny. He has the littlest.
See,
talking.
he's probably you're going through a life crisis. It's like the worst time to be on camera for a debate. He's probably going to be I can just tell in the first couple seconds, he's going to be super distracted this whole time.
Yeah, the last time I saw him, it was a lot of. Is this the second time he's been here?
I think it's the third time he's been.
Third,
on,
okay,
whatever.
yeah, I'm just confusing. But she brought visual aids, so
visual aids for sure.
Yes, I
guess
guess
lavender. Look at the
lilac
jacket,
wins. All right.
the jacket, the phone case. I bet she has lilac underwear on.
Yeah,
or purple. She's
having a purple day.
A purple dildo. I assure you,
she's got one home in her nightstand.
A tasteful one. Nothing too big, nothing that attaches to the wall.
Nothing too black. We're never going to get through this. Who?
No. Lila.
What's her name?
Lila Rose?
Maybe.
I think he did.
It's very possible.
Oh, someone search and let us know in the chat. All right, I'm going to hit play.
And it still isn't going away. But anyways, thanks for your patience with me if I start to cough. I think that sex is an amazing and beautiful thing, and it has a design to it. It has a purpose to it. And I think to ignore that design is to live in an unreality that brings harm to oneself and other people. And sex can do two beautiful things. It can create intimacy and bonding and pleasure, which is amazing between two people. And it can also bring life into the world. And I think there's a ton of social data that shows that
when you divorce sex from its meaning and you treat it like it's a meaninglessness, but like it has no meaning. A hedonistic view of sex leads to a lot of social ills and harm. It's destructive to the people that behave as if it's meaningless, and it's also destructive to people that are also hit by the consequences of that behavior, like a spouse in a marriage whose partner is using porn and they're deeply unhappy, or the children of that marriage, or promoting sex work, leading to sexual behaviors that can bring life into the world, and then you have this life that doesn't have committed parents who are going to raise them and love them. So I think we have to live in reality that sex has meaning, it has consequences, it's a beautiful and powerful thing, and a society that orders itself to recognize that meaning is going to be a healthier, happier society, and that's what I want for everyone.
Yeah, I would say that, excuse me, see, I'm the one coughing now. I took it from you.
Sorry.
Sex is a very important thing. I think nearly everybody agrees that sex is something that's really important. But the problem that I have with sex work, and that's a term actually that I don't consider legitimate. Other people want to use it, that's fine. But I don't think that sex work exists any more than friend work exists. Sex is more than just a biological process or an activity between people. When sex is reduced to hedonistic in its meaning, that sex is an activity that one engages in for pleasure, that does lead to bad things in society. It leads to further degrading sexual acts. Like when we look at popular forms of pornography on the internet based in violence, degradation, scatological urine, feces, rape play.
Scatological.
The human brain is rewired.
Scatologically speaking,
this looks scatological urine, feces.
I would say this looks more like a number 3 than a number 2.
A combo urine poop.
Poop, urine.
Poop, urine, poop. It's all over the walls and the floors. I'm erect the whole time. God damn it.
I don't know what happened, but it's all over my lamp now.
Anna says that this guy's got crazy stuff on his hard drive. I guarantee it.
And it's part of the he doth protest too much camp.
Yeah, well, back in the early 2000s, he definitely saw a video about 2 girls and a cup.
I still haven't seen it.
Really?
Oh.
I was saving it for my wedding night, and then we just never got around to it.
Wow. You gotta
I've
watch. You
never
gotta you gotta do it like the aughts, though. You gotta, like, you don't film the video, but film yourself watching it. So your reaction.
I want to see it ever. I'm
really?
gonna keep myself
I
pure.
think I saw it for you, and you don't need to see it.
It's
all
probably
right.
exactly what I'm thinking. So why do
It's
I need to
not.
see that?
I don't
it's
believe
not,
it's
though.
real. Yeah, I don't really believe it's real. I think
Oh,
I
it's
saw
real.
I've seen Mason Jar Guy. I don't need to see 2 girls in a cup.
That one was bad, too. That one was really bad.
What's that?
A man sticks a mason jar up his rear end, and then it breaks, and blood and glass shards fall out.
What? That's far worse than 2
the
girls,
most
1 soft
insane,
serve.
and he can't stop doing it. He can't stop. And I also saw Mr. Hands. That was equally horrifying.
I'd rather watch a. I don't know what YouTube.
Mr. Hands is so bad.
Uncraniuming, I guess. I don't know.
Mr. Hands is a man seducing a horse, and the horse's manhood is basically stick out your whole arm, and that's how long a horse's manhood
The man
is.
is seducing
And then
the
just
horse?
pretend that whole thing goes up a person, and then that man dies.
He died?
Of
Live on
course he
air?
died. How do you live?
Yeah,
a horse cock the size of my arm.
Was it
goes
like
in
this
the
is the last thing I want to do in my life,
asshole.
and I just want to? It's like this
Here's
is
what
it.
you can't control something like a horse. Okay, this is why I never deal with any animal bigger than me for exactly this reason. It is
I
my
agree
biggest
with that.
fear is that the animal could overtake you, and then it's not up to you what happens. And this man was trying to play it cute with the horse. The horse had other plans. The horse took it to the hole. He went down court and slam dunked it.
What kind of dark internet can you even find?
I don't know.
This was the
Someone on
aughts. It
Friday
was
Night
the
Tights.
aughts.
Someone on Friday Night Tights. I just saw it maybe in the last couple of years.
Oh,
They
really?
posted this video and
very
the
old.
man dies.
It's
Whoa.
horrible. Like it's
Yeah.
On the lives,
but it's when it's really gross.
that is.
Yeah.
I have a palate cleanser.
But
Are you gonna
really
get your maracas?
You gain a new respect for animals by watching it. You're like,
Look at
oh,
my house guest.
who's that? Oh,
Matilda.
it's
Yeah.
Matilda. Look at her little
She's a good-
face.
she's a good
Wait,
girl.
can we do a little solo moment?
Look at her.
Oh, hello. She's so pretty.
I
What a
babysit
sweet
her.
girl.
Yes,
Thank
Ray
you.
Goots, comedian. I always watch her when he's on the road.
Oh,
She's
she's
a
so
good girl.
sweet. Look at her little half face.
She puked on Bisconti earlier. It was adorable.
Oh, she's
So is
so
that revenge for
cute.
what Six does?
I
you
like when
finally
she
got
That's what
revenge?
he said. Yeah.
I like when she blinks like one eye at a time.
Yes.
Oh,
She's
it's so cute.
She's a Boston Terrier. She's very sassy but very calm.
Oh, she loves you. You're
I
her
know
auntie.
we're the best of friends.
Oh.
Yeah. So I won't let I will never let you watch that horse video. Okay. Don't you worry.
Oh, too cute.
She's a
Oh,
good
I love
girl.
her.
It
She is a
does. It
good
looks
girl.
like a mogwai.
What kind of snacks does she like?
Well, I think that I gave her the snacks that Ray gave me to give her. Maybe I gave her too many because I thought she was such a good girl. And then I put her on Bisconti's chest and she puked.
Oh,
You
do you give her, like,
planned it.
baby? Does she eat like baby carrots, or like do you go?
I don't
Do you want a
know.
crunchy? And then give her a little romaine.
I'm too afraid. Oh, yeah. See, I don't never. Well, if you think I keep vegetables in my house, I most certainly don't. But I'm too afraid to give her Skittles. So
No
but,
Skittles.
Wait, you know, since the sound comes out of your speakers, we can have some fun by saying, "You want to go for a walk?"
See,
Yeah.
she's too good. She's too demure. She doesn't play that. She's like, I'm fine, Fealty. Don't you worry about me.
Don't toy with me.
Don't toy with me, boy. She's like, continue on your program. Go.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
she's so cute.
All right.
All right. I'm
I
hitting
love
play.
her.
by
Okay.
seeing this kind of stuff. And this isn't just stuff on the margins either. To look at what sex work does, if it takes sex and drains it of its meaning to make it hedonistic, we also lose the principles that we need to show that other depraved or disordered forms of sexuality are wrong or bad. I like, Destiny, what you said about video games, but if I had to make a video game analogy, I think most video games are actually good or neutral. There's a few outliers, like let's say they had Call of Duty back in 2009. There was the level No Russian where you could go around and you could shoot innocent people at an airport. And that was very controversial.
Yeah.
And most video games are not like that. But if video games were like porn, some of the most popular games that people search for would have degrading acts of violence in it towards, just innocent people, not zombies. And I think people would see that that's very bad for the human person to degrade themselves
I
in that
have
way.
that
So
game right
I am
there.
concerned that pornography and prostitution degrade sex from having a very important meaning and expression of love between persons and leads to an exploitation and problems in society if it's just a hedonistic view.
I like how he said persons as to not be heteronormative.
So, thoughts on what they've said so far?
Well,
Blue Shirt said a lot of big words. I'm going to be honest. I checked out about halfway through.
what's the scatological?
Scatological.
The
Scatological.
scatological urine and feces.
It's going to come down to capitalism versus morality. And how do you really?
Well, I
They're
spelled
gonna
it
argue-
wrong.
They're going to argue the
Here we
moral
go.
point to it. And
Here's
Destiny and the other girl are going to argue the, supply and demand aspect.
And there's always going to be porn. It's always going to, P word, excuse me, whatever, sex work, I guess, right? So
There's always going
I
to be
guess-
P words.
I don't know if we're allowed to say that word. I can never
I don't
remember
even
the
know.
list of words we're allowed to say, but there's always going to be that stuff. So I think that the sex work industry hopefully is really minding and making it safe for girls and making sure. And I know that doesn't always happen, but also I have problems with the morality police if you're not hurting anyone and you're just like, like, who's to say that's not moral? That's my initial thought.
They
Change
can
my
say
mind,
that.
Lilac.
They can
Yeah.
say that even though it's not their business. They're not in that person's bedroom. They can say overall this contributes to the degradation of society, and as a whole, the community will value sex less.
But someone's watching P-Hub. It's someone's watching it. And I agree. He's probably watching it a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't believe him when he says it. It's like the degradation of like, it just seems to me always like it, like a dude like him. It's a person that can't face their own demons. Why does he know about poop and pee scattered on the walls of a porn? I've never seen such a thing. Like, but
Russell
I don't know.
Hall says there's a video somewhere of the girl in the purple blazer squatting over a glass table and dropping a deuce while the blue shirted guy watches underneath. I believe you're talking about Hot Carl. Or maybe a Cleveland steamer. I forget which one involves the table.
Yeah, the steamer involves a chest.
Maybe it's a hot
table,
Carl.
chest table.
Russell Hall says Joe Biden is the original OLD. He is.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna hit play. So now we got our thoughts out there. I don't know where I land on it. I think there's things that can be said about how it can instigate people to go down darker routes, but at the same time, I don't believe in giving more power to the government. I think it's more of a cultural thing of if we're just like, there's nothing wrong with it. If you want to watch it, cool. But, if we culturally acknowledge that, like, hey, like, you really should want to try and find your person and make a partnership for, like, the entirety of your existence until you die. Like, I think that would be more of a way to go about it because a lot of people aren't doing that. And we do have, like, Chrissy, you were mentioning in the other stream that day, we do have dropping birth rates, and it's a problem. When you have a generation of lesser people, then your older generation has less people to pay for the older generation's like existence. And as people are starting to live longer and longer with a dropping birth rate, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So if it is a catalyst leading to something like that, I think that there's definitely something we should talk about culturally. But a lot of things culturally I think need to be changed. But okay, so now we get to see what they say about it, right?
All right, good debate, guys.
But I do think it's important that we define that. Obviously, like I said, the term sex work is pretty broad here. I would say I define it into pornography and prostitution with a gray area, obviously, in between. It's kind of hard to determine. But mostly this just involves monetizing the arousal of other people or the sexual arousal of other people. So you have to be making money, and your intention is to sexually arouse other people or bring them to climax. Obviously, if you're engaged.
Well, we make money off of sports. That's a different type of arousal or excitement.
Yeah. I
mean,
like when
less,
he says
that's less private.
I just like when he says arousal. I don't know. It's just silly to me.
Maybe.
Interesting.
Engaged in a sex act.
Gotcha. Before we dive into this, I think there's two really different ways this conversation would go. We can do both. I think we should decide first. Do we want to talk about sex work through the lens of the teleology of what we think sex ought to be for, or do we want to talk about like the impacts on society first?
I think both should be.
Yeah, but I think
part of
because
the
they're both very, very
conversation.
different arguments. So do we want to focus on the first one of like what sex ought to be, or?
I think we can talk about that because I think the big thing that's dividing us is that it is bad to misuse sex. Sex is a very important thing.
Okay.
And so if one misuses it, this will tend to lead to all kinds of social problems.
There's natural consequences to the misuse or the abuse of sex, and you can live in an unreality and sort of mitigate those natural consequences, but it only goes so far, and there are going to be casualties. And
so, like, a question I
problems.
have is, you guys are saying like porn, like, has been so bad for society. What are some of these outcomes you've seen since like the late 90s, early 2000s, when the internet, became a thing? You guys are saying porn is now making society worse, when in a lot of ways it seems like since the late 1990s and early 2000s, we have less cases of SA, less child abuse, abortion rates are down like 41%. I'm not saying this is because of porn, but it doesn't seem like porn has turned everyone into these violent. People are having less sex. We have less teen pregnancies, all of that stuff. So what?
Well, I dispute the claim that the sexual assault. Can we say that, or we just say sese?
That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
I dispute the claim that porn leads directly to a reduction in sexual assault. And we have to be careful to not do after, therefore, because of. That porn becomes more prevalent. What happens after that? If you look at statistics of sexual assault, they have been declining since the 1990s, but since 2012, they have dramatically increased. Anyone who's watching this, just Google rape United States 1990 to 2022 or rape UK grape, UK from 2002 to 2022, and you see a dramatic rise. Like in the UK, it's like goes from 60,000 reported cases to 130,000 reported cases from 2012 to 2017. What's driving that?
Wait, can I ask real quick, actually, because I just looked these up and I noticed that what you said is exactly right. From 1992, they fall until 2012, and then they spike. What happened in 2013? Wasn't 2013 the start of the Me Too movement?
Me Too movement started in 2017.
Was it 2017?
Well, yeah,
okay,
Alyssa Mullen wrote that.
Okay, gotcha.
I thought about that too, that might be. No, I think
she
when
was
we
so
talk
hot.
about what causes things to happen in society, it's rarely ever one thing.
Yeah.
Because people are complex. So like why, also there's a difficulty in assessing how many rapes occur. Like it's not as hard to figure out how many murders occur because you just count the dead bodies, or how many cars are stolen. You count the cars that are taken. But many rapes are not prosecuted, or they're not reported.
Yeah, it's not true.
But I think the number of allegations, I do want to hear your thoughts on that.
There's plenty of M words that go.
A lot of disappearing bodies.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just count the bodies. He's a murmur.
Like unless they're in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Destiny and Jasmine should have pushed back on that because that's a very good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
Oh, we got a super chat. Pew, 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 pew.
Meow. Viking, there's a good chance Lila Rose has never had an O. What makes you say that? The jacket?
She even has a lilac vibrator in her
Yeah.
drawer. I'm sure she has.
I think she's kind of hot. I don't know.
I'm sure she
She
sat
is.
on her fair share of dryers.
An electric, a sonic hair or two.
Sat on an electric toothbrush a time or two at Thanksgiving. You're in a pinch.
Exactly. She was just exploring.
Girls. Now here we go.
We see it going up, but I think that one element that would make sense to see that drive from the 2010s is that online pornography had a huge boost during this time period. That we have Pornhub was started in 2007, and it explodes going through 2012, 2015 on. And if you're wondering, like the things that I'm concerned about, you look at like Pornhub from 2012 to like 2020. What are the most popular terms being searched? Most popular terms are teen, mom, stepmom. This is not just like your vanilla pornography people are looking for, though I find it suspicious that Pornhub isn't reporting the teen search anymore. So I think that could be a part in there of that further degradation of sexuality during that time period.
I think that's a very significant point that you just raised about Pornhub and the most popular search terms. The reality is child sexual assault material has proliferated in recent years with the rise of more internet spread of pornography and the ease of use of the spread of pornography. Pornography that is violent is increasing. Pornography that involves minors is increasing. So there's that world of that, people involved, not usually those that have you can use the word addiction or compulsion around pornography. There's a need for it to be increasingly intense or violent or disordered in the sexual acts that are being portrayed for them to find it fulfilling. And so they have to continue on this like porn use journey that they're on. And it leads to many other victims left in the wake of it, like children. But another side of it too is the relational side for people that are trying to make families, because I think civilization is built on families. Families is where we're born into. It's where we find our greatest meaning and worth, how we're formed as kids, how we become good citizens one day, and how we discover love for the first time. And today, around 20% of couples report that they experience conflict because of porn use of one of the partners. Like this is a significant thing afflicting a lot of relationships. And one of the top rated things in divorce settlements are the porn use of one of the partners. So it's really damaging. And I think the life experience of many people, I'm sure, are listening to this podcast right now, they know people, everyone knows someone who's been hurt by pornography. So it's really pernicious.
I don't think the pleasure of orgasm balances out the cons.
Well, do either of you know someone that's been hurt by porn?
Probably the mason jar guy.
Yes, and then that guy with the horse thing you just told me about.
Yeah. Yes,
I didn't
Mr.
know him
Man.
personally, but I mean, unless I've known or interviewed, or you've interviewed somebody that was maybe had a bad experience doing porn, or
well, not that they're not
something like
saying that
that.
though.
Yeah.
They're not saying that. They're saying the consumption of porn.
I was in a relationship where the amount and type of porn that my ex consumed definitely sullied the relationship and sped up the end of it, for sure.
So it was like you felt like it
hurt you
kinda like
then,
cheating.
I felt like I just was. It was a huge distraction. to like our intimacy. Like he was just way more into like making me watch this porn and like liking it with him rather than just time. I mean, thank God I didn't end up with this person, but like
I could see that. Okay.
You want it to be the seasoning on top, not the whole meal.
Well, so I'm so curious about this. So was he unable to ask to do fun stuff though? Was that like his way of being like, I kind of want to try this?
He was overall extremely selfish. It was like always what he wanted. It was like, do this to me, do that to me, and like rarely trying to figure out what I liked. Or I mean, I'm bad at saying what I like, but
me too. Yeah, I'm like,
person
whatever
was
you
not-
like.
Yeah, he was not trying to figure it out. It was just all about him, and it's like, ugh.
Wow.
But that's the thing. That could be. I had a similar ex. I think it was. I mean, he would leave the room to go jerk off in the bathroom to porn.
Ugh.
Obviously, I didn't stay with this man. He was a disgusting human being, and in not even in the porn ways. That was the least concerning thing. But we're all adult. If you're an adult, if you drink too much, smoke too much, consume too much of anything, it can become an obsession. Doesn't mean that we're not supposed to, for the rest of the masses, have that thing, you know?
Right.
Well, so either of your exes, did that also affect them being able to perform? Like, you know, consuming that so much
I don't
and taking
think
care of
he was
everything?
concerned about performing. I think he was concerned about himself and how he was going to get off.
Right.
Wow.
Basically. Yeah. So yeah, but that's just a bad, I would, in my experience, like that was just, he was far worse in a lot of other ways. He was just a bad person.
And you know what it is? Because
Yeah.
porn is really, the viewing of porn is really like a solo sport. And because I assume like most guys are watching it by themselves. So like you have your habit of like your routine of like how you watch it because you're mostly by yourself, and it's like that can't be the same way that you watch it with a partner because you're gonna alienate them.
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah,
isn't it more so like, I always look at porn as kind of like, instead of having to use your imagination, you're using visual aids to kind of give you like the mental experience and, you know, imagination to create what you need to make the situation be fulfilled. So were you, like, when he would want to watch it with you though, was it more so like watching a TV show? Like just sitting down and watching?
Yeah, it would just like throw it on the laptop and like I hate that I felt like I had to pretend to be into it, like for him to like me. At the time I was like I had to pretend that I was into
the
it.
boy run media.
But I was young and stupid, and
I would do, yeah, I know. I'd be like, oh no, I like that. That's cool, great.
If I
I'm
was
like,
being
why
honest,
can't
I'd
you
be like,
get
this is
hard?
kind of if I was being honest, I'd be like, this is kind of boring and doing nothing for me. Like, can we look for different types, or like, I don't know, maybe we can start doing something physical. Like, why do I have to?
Yeah. Why is there a horse in this porn?
Someone needs to let this poor horse go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Anna and the chat has been asking, what kind of porn was it?
It was
Was it
really
scatological?
he was really into amateur. He was really into like girl amateur, like
Right. Okay.
couple of girls on a stained couch with mismatched lamps.
That's
And I'm like,
basically just like, watch these other chicks with me then. That's
right. And I'm like, I could leave.
like-
Like, I don't even need to be here. I could just go.
You just do your thing, homie. Like, go the fuck ahead. Yeah. I get where that, yes. It's not everyone, but I don't think I've ever watched porn with a gentleman, but it has consumed like it when I'm thinking back, and I was a lot younger, but I'm thinking back, I'm like, why would he go off in the bathroom and jerk off to porn? But I watch porn. I'll admit that. I'm not obsessed with it, but like I definitely watch it. I would rather obviously just be with my betrothed, but you need to focus inward. You can't take something away from everybody that is bad for for the boy run media. I'm teasing, for just one dude, you know. So.
And yeah, it was definitely my fault for not speaking up definitely my fault for not being more honest, right? And I think it's always easier to like do what's comfortable and like, oh well, it's probably
I've gotten
hard to
into
be super honest about what you want. It's super hard to like take the time to figure out what feels good because like if you're not someone who's easy to get off, you feel insecure. Like, well, do we really have the time for this? Like, does this person really want to commit the next 2 hours to figuring it out? Probably not. He probably doesn't. So I would kind of just talk
Right.
myself out of my own good time.
And then you
Just to
fake
be-
it for
to be
and then you
easy.
fake it for 10 years and it's like, wow, I really need to watch some porn and be by myself so I can actually get off every once in a while. Not talking about you, Visconti. He's asleep. He got thrown up on. But yeah.
The doctor up on him. He had to go to sleep. But just not to say there's not a way to watch porn with your partner. Like check in and like see if they're enjoying it. I don't know. Like ask them honestly what they think of it and be like, or ask them first before you put something on that you like. Be like, hey, what kind do you want to watch?
Somebody wants to watch amateur porn with me, I'd be like, that's a big red flag. Like, you don't need me here. Nope. Other than that, what's all the porn you want?
I'm too experienced for this.
I know, like, or just more like, can't we watch a vixen or something? Like,
Call me when you want someone who's put in their 10,000 hours.
Yeah, I'm the normal girl. We can watch the vixen or like, well, not the horse, but no bestiality, no. Well, amateur, that would just make me feel bad. It would just make me feel like you're not hardened by me. You know, like you're hardened with this. Yeah. So that would make me feel bad. There's definite porn addiction, but there's addiction to everything. So that's my bottom line there. But maybe maybe Lilac will change my mind.
I mean, all I'll say is I could see like watching like porn bloopers, like something like sit down and laugh at.
What we do on Wet Spot. It's funny. We were watching a Thanksgiving porn. We were cracking up.
On In Hot Water, they play gay porn all the time. They seem to love it.
But we're not watching it to like, get turned on. We're watching it to laugh and maybe make a guest feel uncomfortable. Like if it's funny.
Well, Anna asked earlier, do you think he was trying to insinuate he wanted to have a threesome?
Oh, constantly. And we did. And it was a lot of hard work for me and not fun. And like, it made me nervous. And I was like, oh, cool. You picked someone you've already slept with that you used to be with. I had no say in the choosing.
You always, the only way to do a threesome, always be the guest star. You never get into somebody else's couple because they always end up
unless you go out of
Please
town or something and it's like you find someone that you'll never see again. But it's tricky because how do you really vet somebody? How do you make sure they're
I wouldn't in a relationship, I wouldn't do it.
To test them to make sure they're clean. Well, that kind of takes a little bit of the spontaneity and like fun, like naughtiness out of it, I guess, right? So
right. How do you know if they have a dick or not? Right.
So the threesome, was that before or after you were watching the threesome porns?
Probably after. Like it was I don't remember. It was like but I'm sure he was into porn from day one. And so yeah. It was like, And again, same thing. I was young and stupid, and I didn't feel confident enough to like voice what I wanted. And I was so stupid. I just thought like, oh, it's a threesome. I guess I have to bring condoms. I guess.
Oh my God.
And that didn't. And like he took that to mean like I'm gonna fuck this woman in front of you while like looking at you. And I was like, my heart was breaking. I was like, this sucks. Like,
but
I just didn't realize it. Like, of course, you bring condoms. But I just thought it was like, oh, like bringing a bottle of Prosecco. You know, I just was like, oh, I don't.
She's got a Gatorade in case anybody gets, dehydrated.
Either that. I was gonna chop up some celery.
She's got a diaper
snack.
bag.
And I just was
you
like,
could have made him a sandwich too while he was at it. You know,
I know.
I just was like, all right. Oh. Hope you guys are having fun.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll just excuse myself. Well, it seems like a ruse to just sleep with your ex again.
I was like, hey, wait a minute. Hey,
Isn't no, every threesome, it's always a
but
couple.
It's such a good lesson because it's like, I wish I could go back to my younger self and be like, you don't have to do this to be likable and cool. You're already likable and cool, and like you
Absolutely.
should hopefully be enough for the person. And maybe it was the way it happened or how early it happened in the relationship. It's just set everything up for me to feel like not enough for this. And thank God, everything happens the way it should have. I am totally with the person who's no one has ever made me as close, as happy as Frank in every possible way. So it's like I just look back on these past things and I go, oh God, like it just was like
I think
you learn these messy lessons so you can figure out when you have someone of quality in front of you.
Well, do you know if he ended up with that ex after he broke up?
No, God, no.
He's probably still watching amateur porn on his laptop within
Same
his
laptop.
dirty bed. Yes, my
Yeah.
God, you won't even put it on the TV for Christ's sake. I'm sure he's very alone.
Well, not everyone knows how to work a Fire Stick.
Oh, well, he couldn't get his Fire Stick working unless he was watching amateur porn. So, yeah.
I know. I just I feel bad for younger me. I'm just like, oh, honey.
No, life is about experiences, and it brought you where you
Yeah.
are today, and that's why you're such a badass bitch. And you know, you're with the man you're supposed to be. Yes, Z snap. I can't do that cool. Don't know how.
Well, I could say I've never made any of my exes watch porn.
Okay, well,
there's still
we
time.
know you're a good dude.
I would feel so weird about that. Like, hey, let's look at some other naked people. It's the Chasing Amy prophecy. If you've
I
ever
would
heard
so
of that.
much rather just go to a strip club with the person.
That's
Is
fun.
I wouldn't do
100
that. I
times-
wouldn't do that
100
either.
times more
no.
fun.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Because not
I've only been
only-
to a strip club once, so
No, it's great because it's a slower burn. It's like you're seeing girls with their clothes on. It's like it's dancing, it's the ambiance, you're having a couple of drinks. It's not like you put on a porn and it's like things are happening in
Right.
5 minutes.
And then you
can be
don't take
boring.
her home. You go home and bone each other, hopefully.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then it's like, maybe you do a lap dance. Maybe you have a private thing in the back. Like
Right.
that's fun. That at least and the stripper is going to involve both of you. So that's a way more fun time than just
Yeah.
like, ooh, what's the steak I jerked off to yesterday? You know,
Yeah, look at this.
it's like
I
a
don't think I could do
icky
it.
show and tell.
It is.
Yeah, I doubt I could do it. That would feel so weird. Like,
Yeah,
I do
right.
believe in the Chasing Amy prophecy. It's a movie made by Kevin Smith back when he was actually cool, where it's Ben Affleck and he's dating this girl, and she had a much more promiscuous life before him. Promiscuous. She had a much more promiscuous life before dating him, and he was a very vanilla kind of guy. So he always had a problem with it. He felt uncomfortable with it. And then he decides he wants to have a threesome since he knew she did things like that before. And she explains to him, like, you don't want to do that. And, like, you know, I'm shortening it down. But the reason why is she's like, what if I moan differently? What if I move differently? What if I smile? Or, like, what if I do things and now forever you're always going to wonder if, you know, like now with you, things aren't as good or something, you know? And she's like, you just can't do it. And then sure enough, he really wanted to do it. And, you know, the Chasing Amy prophecy, you know, so I
right.
believe
It's like
in
you're
that.
damned. It's like, right. If you approach it with wild abandon, you are running the risk of like, yeah, this person's going to do something possibly better or different, or it'll be just like the novelty will be good, or it'll be just better. And then you're like, what? But like, or if you go into it tentatively and you don't let yourself have that, well, then why are you doing it? Right. So
I've been the guest star in quite a few threesomes, and many a time they end up in tears for the woman. Like,
for sure.
Yeah, it'll always be a old slam piece of mine or something. Just one, for example. They're like, hi, she's into it's my girlfriend, but she's into chicks too, and we just saw you at this place, and can we just come pick you up and because we want to like hook up. This is like very Charleston-y. And then I go like, all right, fine. And then they'd both be fighting over like who was with me more. And then
Yes, that always happens.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on in your relationship here, but I don't know how I can help you. And then the girl ends up crying and running downstairs, and then the guy wants to bone still. Then she comes back up, and she's like, "Are you fucking serious?" I'm like, "I'll just show myself out." I mean, like, I don't know how to help you.
When I sat in the
did
middle,
them both a favor. Yeah, I don't know.
when I sat in the middle of that couple on the plane when we were coming back from where were we going, Keanu? Were we going
Tampa?
to Tampa? Where I just
back from Tampa?
We're going somewhere where I sat in the middle. Maybe no, I was going
When we
somewhere with
sat
Frank.
separately?
I think I was going somewhere with Frank where I sat in the middle of a couple. One they insisted to sit window and aisle, and for
Oh
the
my
whole
God, you
3
did- that
hours,
was your
arms
threesome.
reaching across me, headphones being passed, snacks dropping on my tray, conversations. I was like, I'm now in a throuple. I was like,
It's quite literally that. So what kind of
to put
now
a
I don't want to get
stranger
on.
through that is
I
They're
don't wanna
lucky
get
I
on,
wasn't
like-
there. I would have been like tax and taking a
I
sip of
wanted
their
to like
drink.
karate chop their fucking arms. Like I wanted to do a Red Rover. Like, no.
I don't want to get on airplane like I suppose towardness, but what kind of psychopath couple
So
does
selfish.
that
And she's
to
like,
a,
well,
to a person?
they're like, I get doing that. Oh God, I could fucking rant about this all day. I get doing that, and then no one buys the middle seat, and then congrats, you've won. Okay, you've won the whole row. Enjoy the spoils of victory. Spread out. You know, man spread, do what you will. But if someone buys that fucking middle ticket, the jig is up. All right. One of you's got to move. One of you's got to move to that middle seat because they didn't. And it was very selfish. And she's like, oh, well, you're smaller. He would cramp me. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no,
I'm sorry,
like we're
you're
taking up the
large
same
and in
space.
charge. What?
Me being smaller doesn't mean like there's the same amount of bodies and weight in this row. The armrest comes down just the same. I was like,
Yeah,
"What
if the
kind of
window seat
fucking-"
person moved to the center and you moved to the window, it's literally the same thing. There's no difference.
Yeah. It's just like I'm not involved in your every conversation and snack exchange.
Oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever. That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
So I couldn't believe it. And this has happened to me at least twice on planes.
That is honestly the
It's always
rudest,
a
worst
fucking
thing I've
rich-
ever heard in my
Both
life.
times it was a rich, arrogant fucking couple with a bad attitude. And they were like middle-aged or older. Always.
Good
the two times it
for
happened.
Content House. For Content House, that was like the first time I flew in like what 18 years, and it was lovely. I had two. I was both center seat both times, and I had a cool nerdy dude who sat next to me, and this old
how I know
Spanish
Fealty
lady. It was
is the
great.
most humble, best attitude guy in the world. You had a middle seat. You're like, I had a blast in the middle seat.
Yeah.
I had my
They were cool
two
people.
armrests and tray and everything.
I made friends with people who didn't even sit near me. There was a couple that when I flew to Florida, I was waiting for my baggage, and my bag was the first one to come out for some reason. I think it was because in New York I tipped the guy, and like there was a couple standing right there before me, and I
Wait,
literally
you
I showed up late.
You think that your baggage showed up sooner than the other bags because you tipped someone?
Oh yeah, I tipped the bag.
You
guy.
don't
tipped the
see
bag
them
guy.
throwing that shit on
Nobody's
tipped the
remembering
bag
what bags go with what person.
Yeah,
They
they're like,
have
"That's the
a
guy with the-"
system. I believe it. They have a system when they take in the bag and ensures that all things are good. You
I
tip
think
the
you
bag
paid
guy.
it forward, and then you manifested it with you
You
were
did.
paying it
You had
forward.
good
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it came out first. Like I showed up late. I was the last one to get to where the baggage comes out. I showed up late, and mine was the first one to come out. And I was one of the first ones to even get to like the plane, like when giving the bags and stuff. I was like one of the first people there. Eating my breakfast that was like $10 for a bagel. It was crazy, you know. So I get my bag, and there was a couple there like waiting, and they look at me. They're like, "Wow, you're really lucky." And then on flying back, they were on the same plane again, and I get to the baggage area, and they see me, and they're like, "Not again! You're not getting your bag." I made friends. They're cool people. We
Don't
talk
you
on
try
Twitter.
and sweeten the deal with your $100 handshake. Your bag is coming out last, mister.
Oh, it wasn't 100.
$100.
It wasn't 100.
It wasn't 100. It would take 100 and a bag description for them to ever probably make your bag come out.
You
First,
gotta
I think
tip
it's
the
really
people,
important.
okay? That's how I ensured
Yes.
Frank's bag got back to the content house from the airport.
Oh, that
I
was a
tipped
bunch
the
of
I
Bob.
tipped
Yeah,
the guy.
Well,
you
that was
know?
like the bag had to ride by itself in an Uber.
What in the world was that about?
I was like, I gave him the handshake, and I was
I
like,
blame
"Look, this
Marshall.
is to make sure this bag gets back to house okay."
I think Marshall packed one of our bags when they were leaving.
Yeah.
He
And
was
all
being
of a sudden,
overly helpful. Not
he was
overly,
being overly
he was
helpful.
just trying to be helpful, and
And
there
then
was
they
just
get to the airport, and there was a bag that was no one's, and then
I
it
have
was
to say,
ours.
I was so happy. I just got dropped off with Drew. And I didn't
You were
know
drinking
that.
already.
Yeah. We were like, we're drinking tequila. We don't know what that's about. We're so sorry. Oh my God.
That
Yeah, I'm
sounds like
texting
a
everybody,
you
like,
guys
who's-
problem?
Yeah, I'm texting Keanu like, "Did you leave a bag in the car?" Like, and
And
she's
I'm
like,
like,
"No."
It's not mine.
I'm like, "What
It was
about
like
Drew?"
reverse. It was like reverse Home Alone, where you took the bag instead of the kid.
Yeah.
It was, and Marshall was trying to be nice. There were bunches of bags in the hallway, I suppose, when we were leaving, and then us four were leaving, and I think he just picked up one that maybe he thought it was mine, maybe he thought I don't know what, but
I don't know. Luckily, there was a name
was
on it, and it was Frank's. And
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
"Oh no!" And there,
Oh.
me and Leanne all alone, and I shouldn't have even been there that moment. Quoting Kevin Smith, but my gate was literally on the complete opposite side of all the gates. Leanne turned out her gate was all the way at the end, and I was like, "No, I'll take the ride with you to the end, say goodbye and stuff, make sure you get there okay or whatnot." And it turns out the
You
whole
walked
bag
her
debacle
home.
happened. Yeah, like,
That's you're just such a good dude. And what would she just be left with some random?
oh yeah, she would have been all alone to deal with that on her own, on her lonesome. Like to the point that I was running to my plane because I had to walk the whole I didn't expect it to be 60 gates to my gate. I was running because I was like, oh boy, I'm not gonna make it in time to my plane. I'm gonna be stuck in Florida.
This is my favorite comment ever. How are you guys always involved in cartoon shenanigans?
Yep, it is. It's a farce. Always.
Always a sight gag.
Always.
It was a great time. All right, but yeah, let's get back onto whatever here. Let's
The
hit
data,
play.
I'm sure you guys, when you were looking at porn, it's very mixed. Big medical consensus is that this addiction and all that's not a thing. When it comes to couples, it seems like when the couples are on the same page, that it doesn't lead to negative impacts. It leads to that when there's one couple.
What do you mean by on the same page?
Like when both, if in a couple, if they don't care if the other person watches porn, which is a lot of couples, then it doesn't seem to have these kind of negative.
Do you think that's the majority?
I think it's a lot of people.
Do you think the majority of couples, the wife or the girlfriend doesn't mind?
That's really hard to tell.
How
The
would you
majority
know
of people I
that?
know, it's like that. Maybe the majority of people he knows and the majority of people it's the opposite. So I don't know. I do think in general people don't see viewing pornography as cheating.
Do you think the
terrible.
majority of people think that cheating is wrong though, or even asking, "Can I have an
Cheating
open
is wrong because it
relationship?"
violates your boundaries. But if that's not violating your boundaries, which it's not for a lot of people, then it doesn't seem to be having these negative.
Do you think a majority of wives would think that it's wrong for a husband to even ask if he should be allowed to cheat?
That's not just cheating. It's about violating boundaries. But if he asks, is it okay if I watch porn when we're not together? A lot of wives, girlfriends would say yes.
But do you think a lot of the wives and girlfriends saying yes are saying yes because they're really chill about it? It's not a big deal. We don't care. Or
Yeah.
they're saying yes because society is telling them you should say yes.
What I was saying about the boundaries is it okay for a husband to ask, "Hey, can we renegotiate these boundaries?"
Yeah, of course. It's
So
always
there's nothing wrong with a husband saying, "Hey," because I think many people that would wives, girlfriends, lots of you would say, "No, that's wrong that you would even ask. That's just not okay to do. You don't ask for something like that."
some people, and I think for some people that's not the case.
Who's
I don't
asking?
know exactly percentages, but the majority, exactly, if I'm talking about people I know, this is all I have anecdotal evidence, unless there's some study done on this, is a lot of people don't care.
So I think there's a bit of a myth of this idea that, well, if my boundary is that it's okay to share you sexually with someone else, even though we're in a supposedly committed relationship.
Yep,
I think there's a
butt
mythology
clenched.
that as long as there's consent between the two adults, then it's
He just
okay for
started
one or both
scribbling
to
more
cheat as long as they
furiously.
know and they're okay.
But you're
they're
using
supposed to
the
be okay
word
with it.
cheat when we're not talking about cheat.
I'm saying not have sexual fidelity, so have sexual experiences, relationships with other people, whether that's through a screen or in real life. And there are studies that show, I have one right here that shows that married people who more frequently view porn, even if it's together, even if it's like we're consenting, this is a thing we're doing together, are more likely to experience marital dissatisfaction down the line than couples that do not look at porn together. So pornography has a pernicious effect even on consenting couples who are saying we're doing this together. It's so great.
And that was a longitudinal study based on the social science survey with 2,000 people. It's not just like a correlative effect.
So even if in our minds we rationalize and we live in the unreality of this is not affecting me, I can have this open marriage or I can have this open relationship and my partner can look at porn or have another sexual relationship, it still affects you in the real world, and it still affects your long-term potential for happiness and fidelity, or not just fidelity, but happiness and fulfillment in the relationship. And so we can tell ourselves a theory or a myth of like, hey, it's going to be okay, I'm cool with this, but in reality it doesn't work that way in the long run.
But see, like with a lot of this, I'm not sure if you guys are really frustrated looking up this stuff too, because so many studies conflict when it comes to porn and viewing, and it's like women who view pornography report higher sexual satisfaction when they view it with a partner. In fact, the data on women,
why would that be, Jasmine?
I think you both disproved that.
Well, you just said women report higher satisfaction if the porn is being viewed with a partner, because at least they feel like I'm not being 100% cheated on in this moment.
No, I don't think that's
doing
I
it
think
right.
you're just putting your framework on everybody else. Like, I'm a woman too. I don't care if
So
my partner watches porn. It's not just me trying to satisfy him. It's not just me
They're
being
being
like,
very
and I think a
civil.
lot of people, you have to separate being with another partner physically versus porn, because I think the numbers there would be vastly different on
now.
who's okay if their partner, when they're not around, is watching porn versus who's okay with them sleeping with another person in real life. I think you're going to get widely different opinions there from girlfriends, wives, women on whether that's okay or not.
I would say when we look at the studies, like for example, in 2023, Engelkamp et al. Published a study in the Journal of Sex and Marital Therapy, and it did a quantitative analysis, and the most common themes among
Brian's
couples
face.
where the man views pornography is that the woman is glad that he talked about it openly, but disapproves, or is allowing the husband to look at pornography but does not want to hear about it. So I think you would say that only a minority of women are positively in favor of this. It's either negative or ambivalent.
Well, and I think the point is
Wouldn't you
that
say-
Well, I just want to point out that there's some correlations here of what we just talked about, where Keanu's ex went to the bathroom to do it, and Keanu knew about it, and whereas Chrissie,
I did
for
not
you,
like it. I found
you're-
it, yeah, but
Yeah, but
You're like,
Chrissie,
"I'm
for
right
you, your
here."
ex wanted you a part of it. So, like, both the scenarios they literally just talked about, where it doesn't work out. You know, we're at a 100 out of 100 on it here.
You have to feel it out. And it's also, most people don't know what their relationship would look like without porn. It's like, well, most people don't even know if things would be different or better if porn was not a thing. I think most people don't even try and see, they don't compare like with porn and without porn. So it's like, how do you know the effect, if it's negative or positive, if you don't know what the alternative is like? Do you know what I mean?
right. Well,
If porn is like a given in your relationship, you don't know if things would be different or better if porn was not part of the equation.
all right. So, how about this? We were away for 2 weeks, right, Chrissy? We were away
Right.
when we- right.
It was
It's
the month
fine.
we spent in.
Wait. No, yes,
It
what
felt like a
felt
month.
like one entire year. Visconti, I mean, he's very on top of me always. We have a major sex life. I'm sorry if that repulses everyone in the room. I really apologize.
Everyone
I
picture
really
it.
do. Yes, but we really do. I have no problem. Even if I'm not even sleeping at the same house with him, if he watches porn, he even says to me, he's like, "Well, I try and pick a girl that looks like you."
I love
Or,
that.
you know,
I really love that.
right. I have zero issue with that. What am I supposed to tell him? Like look at. I suppose he could look at my OnlyFans photos too and jerk off while I'm away.
Well, pictures
But
of you.
But right, or just pictures of me. But
Or
take that
you
out
could
of it.
send him pictures. You could, wherever you are, take a.
I
picture.
definitely
True.
do. I definitely do. He likes pictures of my face. He's that kind
Oh
of
my
yeah,
God. He likes to come
right.
right on his phone on your face.
He just comes right on my face, but only behind
Tribute.
the screen, right? So like what if we or I don't think he would ever like get on me about I think I've told him my favorite male porn star. To us, that doesn't like make it a big deal. If you stifle yourself or something, it's nothing if you're in a good relationship. I would never expect a man not to watch porn unless they had like
Right, if you're
some
especially if you're
kind
gone
of
for 2 weeks.
deviant thing.
Imagine if I
Right.
said to Frank, like, at least choose someone I've interviewed. At least choose a friend
Yes,
or someone
yes.
I know.
Exactly. Someone I know, right? I don't know. If you're away, if you have like a relationship where you're away for a while,
How do you
you're
not? I wouldn't
not.
wanna hold his cum hostage while I'm away for 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It can be very simple. You don't have to watch it with them. If he wanted to have a threesome, he wouldn't. I would be like, "Fuck you. Get the fuck out of my house." Absolutely not. No, no, no. If you wanted to watch porn with me, just maybe I would do that, but think that would be the extent of it. I don't see anything really wrong with that, frankly.
He's back from watching porn.
Yes.
Oh,
It
let's
was
go.
a
We got some
redheaded.
super
It was a
chats.
redheaded woman, I assure you.
Good, I hope so.
We should clear out the super chats.
Clear them out.
Okay. No, I think we read this one, right?
Did that.
From
We did
Viking?
that one. We did
Okay.
this one. What type was he into? Burger time. Did your guys
Great
team up
game.
on Luke after he rode his bike to deliver your pizza?
It was Eric, I think, right?
It was Eric, the delivery
guy?
man.
Did you team up on him? You
in
guys got scared.
Tampa. No, we got scared.
Tampa.
I thought he was gonna attack Keanu.
Yeah. And then I called making it worse and felt so bad. I'm sorry
Wait,
about
who
that.
who was going to attack me? I missed it. Sorry.
Eric,
Eric.
the guy who delivered our pizza from New York
Oh
Pizza
my
in
God.
Tampa.
Tampa. Yes.
Tampa.
He got yes. Eric and Manuel made the untoward board this week for sure, but
Oh yeah.
we made it out alive.
I hate
thank
that we were
God.
sort of
yeah.
forced to pay for this very late, very cold pizza. That sucks.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe the Eric that calls into your show is going to call him and be like, I delivered a pizza this time. And these girls got like oddly scared. And one of them like smelled like a rhino or something. and-
One of
Smelled
them was
like
breathing.
one.
One of them was breathing like a rhino. I could hear her breathing from the other
She
side
was
of the
only
wall.
breathing that heavy because she was
Yeah.
scared, guys. It wasn't
I
that she was blowing a fire
Scared.
in there.
And
I
pregnant.
saw a nasty pizza washcloth. You
A
know?
pizza rag.
Viking
beer,
says,
beer, beer.
Fealty, Fealty, if you could sleep with any girl, but it has to be a threesome with Michael Gavin Ali, you doing it?
No.
Wow.
No,
that's a good
absolutely
question.
not.
What if it was a threesome where he was like barely involved? Like, what if it's a threesome where he gets diarrhea like as soon as he walks through the door and he's basically gone the whole time?
Yeah, it's like Megan Fox, you and MGA. What do you do?
I mean, if I know he's not going to be in there for the deed, okay.
I guess that's not really a
Yeah.
threesome then, but
Yeah, it doesn't really count. Like, but if he's like, I don't want to have a threesome with any dude in the room. I don't want an Eiffel Tower. I don't want a high five. Like, I don't want any of that. I don't want a dude there at all.
And a lot of
Like,
dudes are like, yeah, we did that. They like high five. And then, but a lot of other dudes say, like, that's very gay of you. Like, why you're looking at
I
another
think,
man
yeah.
naked.
yeah, you don't want to do a sword fight.
I think it is partially in a slight way gay. If you could
It is
stand in
kind
front
of
of
odd.
another man and
not
like,
not
be
gay.
ready to go, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in a fraternity back in the day. I've seen pictures and craziness that my frat brothers were into and stuff, and done
You're like,
themselves. And
y'all are gay,
I was
frat
like, no
bros.
thanks. Yeah, I partially felt gay for even looking at those pictures, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, I'll take a look.
I was in one
felt gay.
threesome with two dudes. This is a long time ago, and I felt y'all just fuck each other. Like, I have to go. I can't do this. Like,
Yeah.
no bueno. It was
I feel
very
like
odd
you're just
situation.
supervising a gay experience. You're like
Sort of, yeah.
feel like the adult in the room. Patrick T. Hail, Chrissy, Kiki, and Fealty. Thank you, Patrick T. Viking. Again, if the girl is preggers, is it a threesome? Technically,
Yeah.
I don't know. They're not on the outside.
No, it's showing your love, and your baby will
Yeah.
know that you love each other.
The
Right?
baby will never know that it happened.
Yes.
Magnum Norris. Porn is a losing argument for conservatives. Of course, it isn't always good to wank it in church, but if it prevents cheating, then so be it. In church.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's definitely something I was thinking of when I was watching this, is that I felt that the conservative side did have weaker arguments quite often. It's a very good point.
Frank Wolfe, the moral crusaders are almost always emotionally immature, as evidenced by these two, and cite studies from religious orgs. It's so predictable. Thank you, Wolfe.
It is, yeah.
JB, I've seen enough. Jasmine's cleavage was the clear winner of this debate.
I hope you're not in a relationship, JB. Golly. All right, let's get back on into this, shall we?
The longitudinal study you mentioned and I mentioned is that even those that say they're in favor of it and are like watching it as a couple have worse outcomes down the line. And I think that's part of the, the point here is that even if you're in a very unique situation, you're making your living doing this thing, right? And so in your mind, of course, it's going to be great. I know you're going to defend it and say it's going to be great. But the reality is even people that are defending it or saying it's fine in my marriage down the line don't have the best outcome.
Also, to be fair too, real quick, because you talked about your career, you guys are both ideologically, you could never change your position on this.
That's completely not true. Of course,
aren't you both religious?
All the studies show that it's good for you. Would you say
I chose
it's okay?
to be Catholic, and I can choose to reject my faith.
Sure, but if like the research,
no one's forcing me to be Catholic.
Yeah, but she could also change her career.
Get him, Destiny. Get him.
We can change
just one at a time.
We can change our mind on
Get up
empirical
with your
questions
small
about
hands.
whether a majority of people feel satisfaction in something. You can't use a social science survey to determine whether something is moral or immoral.
Yeah, sure. I was only pushing back on the claim that like because it's her job, she has to defend it. Because
I was more speaking to outcomes though, because what I'm trying to explain here is not. My point here is that you can say, and one can say, I'm comfortable with this, I'm fine with this, it's okay in my marriage or my relationship. But my point is the social data shows that people who are comfortable with open relationships or pornography in their relationship have worse outcomes down the line.
Well, the people have the worst who have the worst outcomes when it comes to viewing pornography are people who have moral incongruence with it. That's what there's been a huge meta-analysis where they looked at the number one determinant or the number one predictor of having bad experiences with porn or quote-unquote porn addiction, which the medical consensus is not a thing, is moral incongruence, and being religious is one of the biggest predictors of that. So I agree, porn is really bad for Catholics. I just don't agree that it's bad for everybody.
But my point here is that even people who find a way to morally rationalize the use of pornography or whatever it is, down the line at large, outcomes are worse for open marriages.
But that kind of argument is like saying, well, gambling addiction isn't really real because the people who are most upset about gambling are only the people who are upset about losing money. The people who don't care about losing money, well, they're not really that psychologically disturbed about gambling a lot. But maybe they should be worried about that, just like people should be worried about what porn is doing to them when it desensitizes their brain and it makes them think that I need more and more hits and more disturbing pornography to get off.
But the difference is that with, and that's why the DSM-5 accepts gambling. They've said multiple times, they've rejected it multiple times because you can't make a link to how much people
They
view.
include hypersexuality under impulse control
Not
disorder.
in the DSM-5. That's in the World Health Organization. It's a compulsion, but not an addiction.
But is a compulsion a good thing, Jasmine?
Well, is hypersexuality just a compulsion to masturbate, or is it a compulsion to have sexual experiences?
Either way is a compulsion that you are at the mercy of, and that often brings a lot of harm and suffering.
No, but I don't see the difference there. That if you can be in a situation where I think gambling and porn, they're very similar in their compulsivity. That there are lots of people who can gamble. I gamble. And I didn't lose the house. Lots of people can gamble, but there's a subset when they gamble. It turns their brain on too much, and they need to get more and more highs from it. So they gamble more and more and more. And just even seeing the slot machine, it does something to their brain. And they're in a situation where I don't want to be gambling. I feel bad. I don't want to be doing this, but they just can't stop. Similar thing with porn. There's lots of people who watch porn and they don't turn into maniacs or anything like that. But there's a subset where
gambles. It's okay for him to gamble, but it's not always okay for everyone else to gamble. Also, Lilac, is she married?
I think so. There's a ring on the finger.
Okay. What if your husband, I just wrote this down. What if your husband, to provide for you, has to travel a shit ton, right? He travels a lot. Would you rather him, be in, I don't know, Shanghai, working to provide for your family? And would you rather him watch a little porn and jerk off? Or would you rather him hire a hooker and cheat on you? I mean, it's a ridiculous argument. You have to know who you're with. I would far rather, if Visconti were on the road and he felt the impulse to cheat on me, I'd rather him watch a little porn and jerk off instead.
Noted. We heard that.
Yeah. I think the impulse to cheat and the impulse to jerk off are totally different. Like, I think the impulse to cheat comes from like a long, like, I haven't been getting what I need, not just sexually, but also like emotionally and like other things for a while. That's many decisions. Whereas like masturbating is just like
It shouldn't be, but what if
Cheating.
your man is away from you for weeks at a time? What if you're in? Yeah. What if they're they get drafted? They have to go
Yeah.
into the army, or drafted doesn't happen anymore. What if they're I'd rather if my man were, called to Afghanistan and he were why is that? A Marine, right? Watch a little porn and jerk off, and instead when don't cheat on me, because we're all humans. We're all shades of gray here. Not everyone's the same. Are you supposed to stay celibate for that time? Not everybody, especially
Right.
boys. I'd say it's harder for them to stay celibate than
It's not realistic to
women.
just.
It's not realistic. It's silly.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's something much more sneaky going on here from Lila and Trent there, that by doing this, by making the debate about this, they're inherently linking depravity and wrongness of watching porn with cheating. So cheating and watching porn are two totally different things.
Right.
Cheating is a depravity of a person's quality of character, and porn doesn't necessarily have to be that. It's like a square and a rectangle. So if someone's cheating, that's just their character is flawed. But if they're watching porn, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lead to the cheating. I do feel that, like, in some way it could, in a slight way, whereas maybe you're in a rough patch at some point and the sex isn't that good, or maybe, someone got heavier or they got injured and things aren't as good. And then you're going and you're watching, you're going to this external thing, and it starts making your mind wonder. And then with the world the way it is, especially now, I think social media has a lot more to play with cheating and things breaking up relationships than porn would, because people have ways of actually getting in touch with people.
It's not exactly, Fealty. It's not just like, oh, there's this porn star that's so unattainable. It's like our porn stars, we can DM essentially. We could like arrange to meet up with them. Like they're way more accessible.
Right. Or just random
the porn
girl.
star could just be a girl. Right. The porn star doesn't necessarily have to be a porn
Where
star.
does it end? Do you make your man not follow pretty girls on Instagram? Not like any pretty girls photos? Not, I mean,
there's a part of me that thinks that I do think that when in a relationship, I do wonder if it's reasonable to say maybe couples are better off making joint accounts when they're actually in a relationship. Just because, do you really need the separation and the privacy of existence in some ways?
If you trust somebody, then I suppose you don't, but
yeah, I think it's tough. I think it would depend on the relationship and depend on the trust level. But then again, it is sometimes a tough thing, to figure out, is this person trustable?
Where you would let your person look at your stuff, but you would hopefully think they don't have a reason or a suspicion to. You'd be like,
Visconti, give me your phone.
I think that's a reasonable, way of going about it. But I do wonder of, like, if I'm in a relationship and I'm ever around girls, like if I was in a relationship right now, I mean, I spend a lot of time around girls. I mean, I'm talking with both of you all the time, probably more than I do pretty much anyone else in the world right now. And that would be a little weird for someone if I'm dating, I'd imagine slightly, but I don't really I do wonder of like the poisoned fruit, like kind of like Adam and Eve, right? The temptation of the poison fruit. So it's like, should you minimize as much as possible having trees around you with the fruits on it? Or is it like someone mentioned in the chat earlier, like it's just self-control. Like people should just have self-control.
You have to have self-control. There's always going to be the apples on trees hanging around everywhere, no matter what you do. But if
apples are everywhere.
The apples are everywhere. There's bushels of them all over. But like, if you got to trust who you're with. I've gone through like boyfriends' phones and laptops before, but that's because they gave me probable cause. And I was right. I've never in my life thought to ever pick up Visconti's phone. He's never thought to pick up mine and like even go through it. So like I can trust him, but if we're away from each other for a couple of weeks, if he wanted to watch a little porn, I do not constitute that as cheating. I think it's like great that that's there for them to supplement. I mean, I'm sorry, we tend to be out of town sometimes. It's okay. You have to be with good people. So oftentimes the moral majority, maybe they're stifling their desires and maybe they're not that good of people.
Yeah,
And if
so
you're not
basically,
addressing if you're not addressing the larger issues of like, are you getting your needs met? Do you feel, is this person making you feel special? Do you feel communicated with? Do you feel heard? Do you feel like this person like loves and it's so if those basic things are not being addressed, then porn can be something that would be even more problematic because then you're like, oh God, we're not really communicating and look at who all he's following on Instagram. Like, is this his type? Is this what he likes better?
Right.
Like, is he talking to these people? Like, gosh, we haven't had sex in a while. Like, is that, but you haven't talked about what's going on, or maybe there's a good reason, or like, oh, but it's just communication solves everything.
Yeah. And I tend to find that you start doing that, having that insecurity about social media and who are they following and what all that when it's really not a good relationship in the first place. So,
well, yeah, because it basically, I do think like yet again, the core of this is the content of the people's character. Like a cheater is not made from externals. A cheater they're a cheater. If a person's going to be the type that can cheat, it's the equivalent of saying like, all right, someone doesn't rob a store because they're forced to, because they need bread. No, they rob a store because the content of their character is like, I feel like just taking something, right? Like,
right.
And granted, I mean, these are things with levels. It's not just like once you do something, you're just automatically in that side of it. No, there's levels to it. But it really comes down to the content of the character, I think, more so than like, oh, if they do porn. Because it could be said, you know, if you're watching porn and stuff, does it eventually turn into addiction? Does it eventually grow into something more and have to be, you know, appeased in crazier and crazier ways to the point that you're putting bottles in your butt, you know?
If porn is preventing you from being as intimate as you would have without it, then it's a problem. I think if porn is preventing you from having sex as much as you normally would have, then it's a problem. Like that's taking away being out of town.
Yeah. If it's too much and if it's like, yes, I want to watch porn, I have to watch porn with you every time we need to bone, then that's a problem. And I've cheated in relationships before too. I'm not like that happens sometimes too. That's the funny thing. It's not always because somebody's a sexual deviant and just needs to get laid or something and like is watching porn. It's
a way to avoid conflict in a sense. It's like it's a decision without making a decision sometime, or it's a conversation without having the conversation. It's like it's a distraction. It doesn't solve the problem, but it's like it can happen because you don't want to deal with something else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, right. Exactly. So that's the thing. It's to be so black and white about things is it just never gets you anywhere because there's 100,000 scenarios of it. But to just like get rid of porn, I think would be probably the worst thing that you could do because it's always going to be out there. And then if people are just going to be looking for it, and I don't know.
Well, let's think about places that are much more hardcore on things like porn to the point where people wear clothing from head to toe. It still happens there.
Right.
Very untoward things still happen there.
And what do they always say? Right. It's always boys will be boys, right? If the woman cheats, it's something, right. It's the boy run media. Boys will be boys. I hate that trope. Like, or the women where they wear clothes from head to toe. It's because the men can't control themselves. Or it's always some sort of strange thing. So you got to take every situation one-on-one. One thing that is right for you isn't right for everybody else. But taking away things that aren't seemingly hurting people is really not, in my opinion, the way to go.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some super chats.
How about not doing either? Not that hard.
All right. Well, fine. You're perfect. Never had a bushel of apples before? How dare you? Fine. You're better than us.
Never have a bushel of apples show up on your doorstep? And the apples
There's
are
never a
open and
snake
juicy?
that A snake never came up to you and talked to you and told you to eat it while you were naked.
You never had
Chrissy has an orchard of
tight-
oranges in her house right now.
You never had a tight-looking Granny Smith fall into your lap?
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Beer, 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 beer.
Cladoo. We already did that. Oh, you gotta have strong
No, this is new.
willpower and self-control. From the
I agree.
perfect Cladoo.
I agree with that though. Like, you know, like I think that this day and age we too often don't judge people by the fact that the things they do have no self-control whatsoever. And people aren't taking self-control over so many things. I mean, one of the streams before this stream happened earlier today, we were going to do Sunday and Tuesday. I had parts from Sunday and Tuesday, and on Sunday they had a woman on there that was at least 600 pounds. You know,
I saw that. Yeah.
you don't get there without self-control.
That is,
Bushel.
yeah. He has a, yeah. I didn't mind her though. I mean,
No, she was really reasonable. She was very down to earth,
Yes.
and they really, you know, they were very, whatever. I will say this: they weren't talking poop. They just had genuine conversation, and that's why I feel whatever out of all this new manosphere, whatever is the best.
I
also,
felt Brian almost had a crush on her, to be honest. Yeah.
No.
He was very
Wolfie.
nice. Yeah.
Wolfie says, and social media can be trifling. Facebook sends me dating suggestions even though I'm marked as married. Wow.
Who's still using
That
Facebook?
is trifling.
Yeah. Well, they want you to meet new people and stay on there longer on their
And
dying
date them.
platform. Yeah. All right, let's get back on to the debate, though. I don't know
lights
why I
up
did
their
that
brains,
sound.
and they know I don't want to be doing this. I know it's just killing my marriage. My wife feels awful knowing that I go and look at this stuff. I feel bad, but I can't stop. Don't those seem like similar levels of compulsion?
It may seem that way, but the scientific consensus, right, the DSM-5 statement is that other excessive behavioral patterns such as internet gaming have also been described, but the research on these and other behavioral syndromes is less clear. They make it akin to exercise addiction, shopping addiction, and sex addiction. The data is just not there
The point is-
that it affects you the way gambling does. That's not me saying it. That's what the scientific
Yeah, but the
consensus
DSM-5 is not an infallible Bible for everyone. You have other studies. For example, Love et al. Published a study on the Neuroscientific Foundation of Pornography Addiction, and that was a 2015 article, and a meta-analysis, and they do link it to other addictions and other compulsions. So I think if people just look at it, you just take a bird's eye view, the person who feels bad gambling and can't stop, the person who feels bad shopping and can't stop, and the person who looks at porn or sees prostitutes and feels bad and can't stop. It all seems pretty
But
similar
the
to me.
difference is that with porn, they've done multiple studies where it's like somebody who has positive attitudes toward it versus someone who has a negative attitude toward it. They're watching the same amount and they're having the same.
That's a short term. Those are short term studies, though.
But it's
So
what all
but
the
the
data
point is, you
shows.
can tell yourself again. You can live in unreality and tell yourself, you know, this sexual act of infidelity. I know you don't call it infidelity because someone consented to it, but me going and being polyamorous, or me going and having multiple sexual experiences outside of my marriage or my
just
relationship, or me
dancing
going and
around
looking at
Destiny.
pornography or using pornography, you can tell yourself and experience short term pleasure. You absolutely
No, I think
can.
a lot of wives would
So
say
we're
that
not-
if their husband is chatting with you on a live cam, they would say that's cheating. You think a
Yes.
lot of wives
Well,
would feel that way?
You don't know how many wives find me for their husbands.
Also, wait, hold on. Yeah, when we talk about like
Oh,
cheating
snap.
or murder, when we talk about like murder is clearly unjustified killing, right?
Where are we talking about murder?
I'm just saying that the word murder means unjustified killing. It's baked into there's no such thing as a justified murder. When you use the word cheating, then you're begging the question. Of course, it's wrong.
Yeah.
But the question is whether or not these behaviors can be engaged in like consensual ways.
My
Right? So to
point-
say like,
my-
oh well,
But that takes
you're-
us back to what is sex for. That might maybe
That's
we're-
fine. Yeah, we can go back.
My
Wait,
point is
hold
that-
on. Wait.
yeah,
I'm just
Go right ahead.
Yeah. I'm just saying that you can't just keep calling it cheating over and over and over again because you're begging the question. You're loading in with the word cheating is baked into this idea that a boundary is being violated or that a non-consensual activity is happening. And that might be your position and that might be your opinion, but you can't have that perspective on two other people's boundaries. If they say, well, in our relationship, we're allowed to watch porn, it's inappropriate
Well,
for
I
you
was
to call
actually
that
making
cheating.
a different point in response to Jasmine.
Well, no, hold on. I'm just being clear because Jasmine contradicted that point, and then you tried to explain why. Well, actually, it is always infidelity. When infidelity again has baked into it, that you're tautologically trying to define away the argument, which is whether or not you can engage in these behaviors in a healthy way. And you're saying, well, obviously you can't because it's infidelity. It's like, well, you're begging the question. So if we're going to talk about the behaviors themselves, we can, but you can't call them
You
all
can
cheating and
define the
infidelity.
terms
right?
as you please. I think my point here with
Well, hold on,
Jasmine.
wait,
She's
wait,
good.
wait, wait,
She's
wait,
so
all of you
good at
guys,
this.
Every single person watching.
He's great. I get him.
Uh-oh.
Get him.
Careful, you're gonna have an Amber Heard statement there.
Oh God, wait, Jesus.
No, he's right on that though. If that's what the people's boundaries are and that's what works for them, like, who's to say? Because I mean, look, there are people filming that porn, right? They're in relationships. They're probably married, to someone outside of the sex they're having. It doesn't always go bad.
It's a ridiculous thing to try and control. And if people are happy and not hurt and not hurting other people, then I just don't understand where you can't. But I don't know. Let's see what he says.
Yeah.
Infidelity and cheating means that you are doing something in contradiction to what your partner wants. We all agree with that, and we all agree that those are bad.
Specific to sexual behavior.
Sure,
outside
but everybody here agrees that infidelity and cheating is bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we all agree with that. So then why say like, well, this is cheating? We all agree that that's bad.
I mean,
It's whether
we
or not
can
it is
agree
cheating,
to
right?
disagree on the point that yes, I think it is infidelity or cheating.
So you think that
to
if
have
like
sex outside of
two
your
people are in a
marriage,
relationship
I
and
think
they say
is
that, hey, it's
infidelity or
okay if
cheating.
we watch porn, you think they're still cheating on each other?
I think
your
that is
world?
being unfaithful to each other. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
So
it's a different view on it.
Yeah, I
It's
understand,
a different
but
definition, I guess.
And we can agree to disagree on that at this point. But my larger point that I was trying to make with you, Jasmine, or kind of get to the bottom of was, yes, you can say I'm feeling great about this. I just had an orgasm. It feels great. I'm so happy with this, pornography I just consumed, or this, webcam person I just spoke with, or
nobody
whatever, or had this,
feels like that after
relationship
they
with, or
come
whatever it
after
is.
watching porn. I assure you. You feels good, and then you feel a slight bit of shame, but then you get over it and move on with your day. Nobody ever went, maybe she really doesn't watch porn, because nobody goes like, wow, I'm really proud that I did that.
It's not like it's not like it's more like eating a whole chocolate cake. Like, oh god, I just couldn't help
felt good at
myself.
the time, but
I
But do
threw
you
it out and then I ate it out of the trash.
Do you think that could have what was that? The dog where they rang the doorbell, and every time they rang the doorbell, they would feed the dogs.
Pavlov's dog.
Pavlov's dogs. Do you think that has a Pavlovian effect on your psyche by having that shame feeling after it? Like, and the
I
more
feel
if you
like-
watch porn and do that to like things that you're kind of like, I feel icky. Then you have sex with someone, and then after you're done having sex, same thing happens, and it's like, oh, I feel
It depends on who you had sex with. Yeah. Like, you're like, well, I got off, but yeah, maybe I feel icky, but the moment is fleeting. I feel like it's, to be honest, I think it's like religion that makes you feel like, oh God, I've done something unclean. Like I'm not married. Like something like that. But it's just a weird thing. And that's a thing that a lot of people experience.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Not
her
everybody.
entire argument is negated. I would think they love to talk about the majority. The majority would say that probably they don't feel great after they come when they watch porn. But it's not like something that they're like, God, stupid, stupid, stupid. What have I done? The feeling is fleeting. That's all.
Yeah. I wonder though, because like I'm trying to look at it like from a neutral side of looking at both their sides of it. And if there is a shame feeling, like we know there is definitely a shame feeling when you're watching porn and you finally get off, then technically, I mean, if you do something over and over again and it becomes a standard of yours, it does kind of link that feeling with the getting off part. So then now let's say you're single for like years, right? And you like every time you get off, it has this like, shame feeling at the end of it. And then you finally have sex with someone, so after years of feeling shame and shame and shame, every time you're feeling this glorious feeling,
yeah.
and the realms that you've gone to that have grown over time of like having to get to that moment of
negative
finalization.
association.
Yeah, like I do wonder if their side of it has some, verity of, maybe it
get
does
it.
lead to badness.
It's just, you got to take people one-on-one.
Yeah.
Not the human experience is like it's shades of gray. You can't just because somebody who'd ever had a girlfriend before and then only ever experienced that's terrible. But or somebody that gets addicted to anything, that's terrible. There's something more there to unpack, but it just doesn't mean that you can't, for societal reasons, say it's morally wrong and that nobody should have it. It's terrible if that's
Well, I don't think they're saying that necessarily. I don't think they've said that even necessarily. I think they're more so asking the question of society and in the larger scope of society and effect on humanity. Is there downsides to it? More of like a cultural kind of quandary of like, is there possible downsides to us as humanity if this is something that isn't just like it is a shade of gray, but something felt by a large group of people, what could the downsides be? And we are seeing societally there are less births happening, so you have a lot of things coming together.
I wrote this down. Is that an American thing or is that like worldwide?
That's worldwide. Like
worldwide.
Japan is like
except for
really
maybe
in
like
trouble.
the Congo and Senegal. Like basically African countries are, but European countries are worse than us.
Really?
Scandinavian countries way worse than us.
Not to say we're good. We're pretty low
Asian
down the
countries
list as
bad
well.
too.
Yeah.
I do.
There was
they've been throwing the girls into the river for years now.
No, there was literally just a video the other day of Kim Jong-un crying, begging his people to have more babies.
You're fucking kidding me. Okay, that's what they
I kid you not.
You're kidding me. They wouldn't let you have more than 2 for a while, right?
Well, no, China was the first child policy. So if you had a girl, you could have another baby to hopefully get a boy. But if it was a girl, you wouldn't be able to keep it after that.
Damn. That's brutal. That's brutal because then that's basically you're telling a woman to dump it after 20 weeks, which is when most people find out the gender, which is like you're 4 or 5 months pregnant at that point. Like that's
the
fucked
fact
up.
Yes. Oh Jesus. God.
But it was literally like because they wanted to have less girls because girls have, I guess, babies, and they're a country with over 1 billion people in it. But they did that for so long now that there's so few girls in the country. That's why North Koreans that try to escape North Korea, they go to China and they end up in the trade. You know what I'm saying? And they get given to husbands and stuff because they're like, especially outside of the cities, guys can't find wives in a small town and stuff. So that's what's happening. It's really messed up. But so like when we're talking about this,
you're having all the white guys come into Asian countries and taking their women. That's happening too.
Right. Exactly.
The passport bros.
Exactly.
a lot of those guys end up staying. And a lot of them just stay there and just enjoy themselves for years and don't even get married. It's really creepy. There's a lot of videos about that on YouTube. You should check it out. Also, while I'm the only one with a microphone right now, Claudiu Rigoyan, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, but I barely have any self-control. I barely had any self-control for a while, and it was not a good time. Believe.
See, you learned from your experiences.
Yeah. I wish I could have more self-control. I finally am on the self-control of not eating badly. I've been doing good. But okay, let's get back onto playing this, shall we? Hear more of this craziness here.
But in the long term, these things don't serve the person or society. So we can actually agree with you that hedonism feels good in the moment. Like I don't think Trent would even disagree. At least for the person taking part in the hedonism, they might feel sick deep in their conscience. But I think in the moment, physically, they're going to feel good, and that's the temptation of hedonism, right? It's like it feels good. Of course, I'm going to do it.
But that's not true. I mean, women who view pornography report higher sexual satisfaction, improved communication about sex with their partner, greater comfort with their own sexual, greater comfort with their own sexual orientation, more frequent and higher quality sex, easier time reaching
long-term study following
there's
their
multiple
life
studies. Almost
and their
all the
porn
data
use.
on women in pornography in the old days, it used to give them negative body image issues, but since like people like me, you're welcome, or like more amateur porn started coming out, actually women report feeling better about their bodies. There's a huge study about women feeling much better about their vulvas now because they're seeing different types of vulvas represented in porn.
So you think pornographic accounts online, like there's a lot of Instagram accounts, for example, that are kind of some soft core pornography, are making women at large and young girls at large feel good about their bodies?
Pornography, there's studies about
correct at all.
pornography and women who view pornography, because a lot of women watch like amateur porn more so than the mainstream studio porn now, and you're seeing all different kinds of body types. So that study that was done on women who now feel like, oh, I actually feel better about my vulva, I feel better about my body. When we compare that to women who viewed porn in the past, but when studio porn was the only kind of porn out, we're seeing a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, at large, sexual objectification of women online and
who is the
objectifying
majority?
certain,
Who views porn
especially
more,
certain
men or
body
women?
parts, has been detrimental to young girls' mental
Men
health.
view porn more, but women also do view it.
Sure,
pretty
I don't disagree with that. But I think we just still need to go back to just the idea of my argument. I think would be our argument that why.
Well, actually, I want to ask you guys this. So, with porn, do you feel like it made you feel better as yourself or worse?
100% better. If you don't like, I don't know, you don't necessarily have to be watching the porn where there's shit splattered on the walls like this gentleman does, clearly. But like,
Yeah, but
a little
about your
porn-
body, though?
Yeah,
No,
no,
like-
because women, we are always, I don't know, where it feels like people always say how like ugly I don't even like. It's like regal. I don't like to say I don't like to say vagine either. But just because I don't even like to say it, just when you see different types of women that like are completely comfortable and like men that like them because the boy around media wants to tell you that like pussies are ugly. We don't like to look at them. Like that's, I mean, but like here's a woman that it doesn't have to be, it can be empowering for a woman, because if somebody's so comfortable with however they look, or like even women that are larger or smaller or flat chested, that always made me feel a lot better, that like somebody, you know, would have the wherewithal to like get erect to them. I mean, I completely understand that.
Chrissy,
but
what
I don't
about
know.
you?
I would say in my concrete experiences, it's generally made me feel worse about my body, but it's taken me a long time to like feel good about myself. So again, it depends. Like if you're getting into a place where you feel, wow, the person I'm with finds this type better looking or like more comeable too. You know what I mean? Like if you're in that place, you can get insecure pretty quickly.
Did the women that he like that would, when you would watch porn with the ex, did they look differently from you?
They all, yeah, none of them were redheads. They were all like,
yeah.
And not that even that I care if they were like younger or older. They just like, you're like, oh, this is the scenario, and these two chicks, like this is what you're going for, rather than like whatever it is I could be bringing to the table. I just felt overlooked, I guess. I just felt
So
like,
it's interesting. We have both sides of the fence here. Then, you know, one person.
But I'm not
work
saying
for one.
It definitely can work for people. I'm just like looking at my actual experiences with when I watched it with a partner. Like it never made me feel better.
But so before that, though, it didn't really like make you feel like, all right, well,
I
guys
don't
have
watch
these
it
parts.
like I
It's kind of.
I don't watch it by myself. Like I have to like support friends. Be like, oh, let's see what Karma RX is up to. I just interviewed her. Okay, cool, good for you. But I like, just if I'm gonna be by myself, I'll just use my imagination. Like I don't need to look at anything to get there. So I wonder if porn could be equated to
What? We lost
Keanu's gone. Like I wonder if for me, like you could equate porn to like maybe using a vibrator, I guess. Like maybe like, okay, it's this external thing that's not a natural part of your relationship, but that helps you get there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think I was saying earlier about how it's like it's the mental aid almost, like where you can't imagine it yourself. So you're utilizing what's happening in this video to get you there, or a picture.
It's interesting because like sex toys, that is, you're utilizing an additional like sensation that you could argue is not natural, whereas someone could be utilizing a visual that's not naturally occurring. So I could see the argument that they're the same.
Well, that actually makes me really, wow. It really makes me realize that. So for most of these years, while porn's, becoming prevalent and internet technologies allowing for porn to be shared in now video form and all these ways. I mean, you think back to 90s of 56K modems. Going on a porn website, like, it would take 5 minutes to load the page, so you could, how are you watching porn? You have to find, the old porn mags in your dad's closet, or like cassette tapes and stuff, or, if you had like the illegal cable, you could watch it that way. But now it's like, so over all these years, girls, like you say, they have sex toys. They have these toys that could do things to them that no man can do. Like a Hitachi magic wand could do things. A man cannot do this. There's no way for him to do it. He could try. He can maybe get close, but he can't. There's no way to even match up to it. Whereas for guys, we didn't have any real, deal, toys, per se, that could do
Fleshlights
something.
are kind of new, relatively.
Well, they've been around, and there's always been that kind of semi-half body of what a girl would be with the two things in it, but it's not even if it vibrates, it doesn't do anything to a guy similar as I would assume can be done to a girl. Whereas a guy also only gets the one finale, and the girl can have multiples. So the toy could do magical things for a girl. Whereas for a guy, it's kind of well, why am I not just using my hand? So that's why I think, in a way, maybe porn for guys grew exponentially, because we don't have an external toy necessarily. Up until very recently, in the last few years, they've made these, fleshlights that are more motorized.
And they have real dolls, too.
And and it's amazing how annoyed people get that some guys like those. But guys didn't have something so alien and crazy that could cause the finale in a way that's so just whoa, this is unbelievable, up until just a few years ago. So I wonder if maybe that's why more guys watch it. Maybe it's not a guy thing that, they like porn. It's just
men are more visual, generally speaking.
Maybe. Well, yeah, maybe that's why those dolls are gonna grow really big, I feel. And especially as AI and stuff comes into play, and Neuralink comes into play, and now you're not just watching porn, you're actually connecting your brain with the porn star. So everything they feel, you're literally feeling, because you're connecting your brain to them. So when they film a porn, you're there feeling them film the porn.
Oh.
Neuralink is going to change the world in so many ways, and so many terrifying ways. Because then your brain's controlled. But yeah, I'm not going to rant on that. Let's get back on into watching this crazy debate.
Pornography and prostitution is bad for society, is that it encourages this false view about what sex is for that leads to all of these kinds of bad consequences.
Well, what are the bad consequences?
Also, real quick, can I run through something? So I'm taking notes on something. Okay, so real quick, on just from top to bottom. So,
why don't we go back and forth?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can. Yeah, I just want a chance to go back and forth on something. So I heard a lot of points from Red, but I haven't been able to jump in on a lot of these. On the first one, so in 2013, the FBI redefined rape to include all forms of penetration on somebody, including digital penetration. So that largely explains the huge gap in numbers there. I don't know if you were trying to imply that in 2013 there was a spike that happened due to pornography or due to some other reason.
I'm saying that's certainly plausible. It's a part of it. And you don't have enough evidence to say that explains all of the increase.
No, but there was a massive redefinition.
It also wouldn't explain the increase at the same time in England.
And
I don't know about the increase in England. Well, I don't know about the increase in England, but I feel like if the numbers dramatically jumped in 2013, it's strange that you didn't search for the answer for why they jumped and just assumed because it fits the narrative of it must be pornography or whatever. When a redefining of rape would be a really big reason why the numbers might change. For instance, if you're familiar with Sweden's sexual assault statistics relating to immigration and everything, the Swedish redefinition of a lot of these crimes is a reason why some of these numbers jump. So I think anytime you see a huge jump of the data, I think if you're inquisitive, you'll usually ask oh, well, I wonder why the data changed.
But definitely, there's also been meta-analysis of porn consumption that shows that many studies that show the link between porn use, and keep in mind, a lot of porn today, some studies say 88% of porn today involves violence or aggressive acts.
I don't believe that.
There's a link between,
wait, when you say violence or aggressive acts, what does that mean?
It involves, at the extreme simulation of sexual
you said
assault.
88%. I watch a lot of porn. I don't know how much porn is violent or I'm not sure what counts as an aggressive act. 88% of porn is aggressive
forceful, causing pain or discomfort to the person that's being involved in the sexual act.
Yeah, so that's one. That was a 2010 study. Another one that was published by Vera Gray, 2021, in the British Journal of Criminology, said that it put it at 1 in 8 had acts of violence that would be considered violence, like under things like for example, binding forelimbs and penetration, gagging.
So I could buy the 1 in 8. The 1 in 8.
My first women are the ones that are disproportionately actually seeking that stuff out. So is that also just to police people?
They're also disproportionately.
I would say.
Wait, hold on just a sec. Destiny, you wanted to go, and then Lila.
Yeah,
have you
I just wanted to
go ahead, Destiny.
So I could believe the 1 in 8 number, the 88%. There's no chance that that's true.
Brian
that's not about pornography.
moderated.
It's the 300 most common.
Oh, right, he's
I'm
moderating.
just saying 88% of all pornography being violent, unless you're defining like oral sex as violent. There's no shot that the number is that high. That's just
it's of the most popular. And that's why on Pornhub you're having teens, and then you're having step parents involved or stepmom involved.
I think urinating and ejaculating on somebody's face, I think that's violent and degrading.
I understand what you're saying, but to the vast majority of normal human beings, urinating on somebody's face is far different than ejaculating on somebody's face. Maybe in the Catholic world, those are similar things, but in the ordinary world, those are two completely and totally separate acts.
I think most people in the regular world would consider that utterly degrading.
I'm saying those two things are different. You want to classify both of them as degrading.
Well, why are they different?
Because I don't know how much into detail, but urinating on somebody's face, the kink of water sports, is considered to be generally more extreme. There's far fewer people that are into it, and you're involving non-sexual fluids now in like a sexual sense. That's just considered a more hardcore type of.
Why? If anything, urine is probably a more sterile liquid, and just because fewer people do it doesn't mean it's more extreme. I'm sure there's fewer people who do like Star Trek cosplay porn, but that doesn't mean it's more extreme than others.
Sterile
it's minority. I
liquid.
think that's just
it's probably considered more extreme. It's not an intuition. It's because generally the further you get away from things that are less directly involved with sex, and then like the more uncomfortable those things tend to make people, the more we would classify those things as being kind of like extreme. I think it's like I don't know if I'm sure we could have a huge debate on like is bukkake porn considered extreme, or is it just like a hardcore kink? We can get into it. I'm just saying in general, if you look at the number of people into a kink like water sports, or you mentioned like scatology, like stuff like that.
Water sports. You're talking about. Is that just
like how he
urinating
says
on
it
others? Or is it
better.
other
urinating on people?
Yeah.
Or anything involving people. I'm not sure. I don't.
Okay.
Maybe Brian can fill us in more on.
Because that's just euphemism. I enjoy water
Brian
sports,
was like,
I
have to do something.
I don't care.
I'm
people
just
can come up with
sitting
all
here.
This sort of stuff to smooth over, what is
hold on,
actually
I'm just trying to give an accurate accounting of how we refer to these things. You're looking them up. Or trying to find
Go
out.
ahead. Did you want to ask anything else?
I reject this idea of like, well, as pornography increases, child sex material increases. Therefore,
That's a fact, though.
That's
Destiny.
fine that it's a fact. But what I notice is oftentimes with porn, to try to refute like the central point, people will point to a negative outcome that might be increasing and pretend that counts as a refutation of the single point. A statement that I can make.
That's not what we did, though, Destiny.
That's exactly what you're doing.
No.
You're saying that as pornography increases, child sexual material might increase, which means it's an attack against pornography. But I would say
it's a form of pornography.
Let me finish my statement. What I would say, it is a form of pornography. Literally, the increase of anything involving, say, children playing video games necessarily increases the exposure of them to people looking to abuse children. That doesn't necessarily mean that online video games or children playing online video games are bad. It just means you have to control for the negative outcome of people abusing people playing online video games. Same thing with pornography. It's not an argument against pornography if some people might abuse it in a way. There might be some people that actually record actual sexual assault. That's not an argument against pornography. It's an argument against people doing that bad thing.
It is an argument of the most commonly searched for terms are things like teen, barely legal, and they're constantly searched over and over as the most popular thing, which people aren't doing with like video games.
I mean, here's
It's tough. Both sides are kind of winning.
The social data proves very clearly, and this is the point that when we disorder sex, when we divorce sex from love, fidelity, commitment, family, like the whole project of marriage, I'm gonna, sex can bring life into the world. If we do bring a life into the world, we're gonna stick together, love each other, build a family together. When you take sex out of that context, out of the context of love and marriage, and you put it in the context of my goal, my orgasm, what I want, right? At whatever cost I can pay, provided someone else consents, right? It's not just, I think, that person that will suffer and the other people engaged directly in that will suffer, but it is children. And so you said, well, yes, okay, there's a proliferation of child sexual assault material, yeah, but that's not saying porn is responsible for that. That is a form of the porn that's being created and consumed at large in our society. So to say that children are somehow unscathed by the proliferation of porn, I think is totally untrue, Destiny.
That's fine.
And in addition, I'll just say one other thing. The flip side of this, we've debated on this before.
But she's not saying that that's caused from porn existing.
Hedonism at large, in addition, leads to what we have today, which is abortion on demand. You mentioned abortion rates are so low. They're actually very high. They're nearly 1 million a year
they're lower
in this country.
When porn, with the wide availability of porn, it's gone down a lot. So I'm just curious, you guys are saying, oh my gosh, there's all this violent stuff now.
Jasmine,
I'm looking at the data. There's nothing linking porn to increased violence. There's actually a lot of studies that link the wide availability of pornography to less violence.
There's more pornography today.
We found that in the Czech Republic, in Denmark,
3 or 4 decades ago, it was find a Playboy magazine or go to an adult video store. Today, porn is everywhere.
I will say this. Technically, I agree with her that yes, there is in some ways more porn today than ever existed. But at the same time, there's a heck of a lot less porn today than ever existed. Like, there's more porn insofar as OnlyFans exists. But on OnlyFans, there's a limit to what people can do as per porn. You're not going to go on OnlyFans and see the crazy things like the horse guy or the bottle thing. You're not going to see that. So when we talk about exactly, but so when we talk about there's more porn today, yes, there's more porns today, but the range of the porn of what it is for porn is far less. Like even, you know, the porn sites like the Hub and stuff, they all went through a cleansing just like YouTube did, where they got rid of tons of content because they felt it was wrong, and the left went through a whole cleansing of it. Like, well, I think it was 6 years ago. It was a part of their whole censorship campaign. So if you go on these sites, you're not seeing the crazy things you used to see in like the aughts and the tens. It's all gone. So the range, that's why like nowadays it's like everything is like stepmom, stepbrother, stepsister.
You have to be so careful.
Yeah, it's all kind of the same thing. It's just kind of basic kind of stuff. There is like, you know, there is other stuff there, but it's definitely not like it was back in the day.
They got a lot of the more disgusting stuff off.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I used to just watch things because it was just like, what the heck is that? Like, the shock value of it. That's why I saw the cup video and the horse thing. Like, back in the day, it was like, you never knew what you could see.
Cup and horse. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it was literally like watching shock like entertainment of like what the heck is happening, you know, and that's like really like it doesn't exist on the main porn fairs, I would say, anymore. It's just gone. So yes, there is more porn insofar as amount of creators is way higher. You got, you know, because of OnlyFans, it's kind of like when Twitch and YouTube started. Everyone was saying, you can't make a career of that. How are you going to make a career of that? Like, you tell someone like, oh yeah, I stream on Twitch. It wasn't like the first thing they would say, oh, but what do you do for work? That was the first thing anyone would say. Anyone I ever told back in the day, what do you do for work? Nowadays, you tell someone I'm a YouTuber, they say, oh, how many subscribers do you have?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's accepted now because it's accepted that you can make a career on it. And OnlyFans has been going through that same kind of transition period of, you know, people can be creators. They can make a life. So there is more, but it's also less. You know, variety is gone. So that's my 2 cents. Sorry about the rant, but that's my 2 cents.
That's a very interesting point.
Yeah. Oh, we got super chat, by the way.
Beer. Viking says Brian is the cuck of this interview. He's not really moderating. Cladu. I love how Brian is supposed to be moderating, but he's just sitting back, letting the chaos ensue most of the time.
Yeah, he's really not good at moderating. All right, let's watch some more. I figure if we can get to 50 minutes in the thing, that's pretty much what I timestamped up to, and it was pretty good up to there.
So why are we not seeing this proliferation of violence and all these terrible things happening?
We're seeing a lot of,
those are all less than they were before.
Ills.
When there were just those Playboy magazines, we had way more of that stuff than we do now with pornography.
So you're
widely
saying
available.
so is your argument that we had less child sexual assault material?
Child abuse has declined.
So are you saying that child sexual assault material can be created without child abuse?
I'm saying that that like child abuse cases, all of those have gone down. I'm also saying that STD rates have gone. This is according to.
That's incorrect.
So it's just incorrect. Okay, well, what data do you have that shows
so your argument is that the proliferation of porn, somehow that has led to less child sexual abuse.
I didn't say it's led to. I'm not saying causation.
So what's your argument?
My argument here is that if porn became widely available and it's so violent and it's so terrible, then how come we're not seeing those outcomes
Why is
reflected
there a proliferation
in real life?
of child sexual assault material on the internet and it increases
because
every year?
We have the internet now. We didn't have the internet before, but since we've had the internet, we've had less abortion, less syphilis, less gonorrhea, less teen sex, less teen birth rates have fallen 33% according to the CDC. SA has declined, and then
your argument is that child sexual assault material is not porn, or what is your argument?
My argument, I'm not even talking about child sexual assault material.
What are you
My argument here is that when porn became widely available, we didn't see an increase in violence. In fact, I have lots of studies here that show that once porn became widely available, like for instance in the Czech Republic.
When did porn become widely available in the United States?
Around early 2000s. That's what I read.
So I think I can understand the argument you're making, but I don't think it bears out. For example, with divorce rates, as an example, as I said earlier, one of the second highest, most quoted thing when it comes to divorce today is the pornography use of one of the partners.
But divorce rates have also gone down since the
but
early
overall,
2000s.
they've gone up over the last
not since the
40,
so this is
50
my question.
years.
Since porn has become available, they have not gone up. They've actually gone down since the early 2000s.
One reason they go down is people are choosing not to marry.
That's fine, but what I'm saying, and I don't think they're choosing not. I don't think they're not choosing to get married because porn is available. But you have no link to that. My question is,
but hold on, I think it's a fact. It is a fact that the sexual revolution, which took place in this country mid 20th century, which opened the floodgates of pornography, first with Playboy magazine, and then later on with the internet, which opened the floodgates to no fault divorce, more divorce, swinger culture, open marriages, all of this stuff, abortion, all of this stuff, that those social ills all mushroomed together. And they still exist in large quantities in our society today together. Because when you treat sex just as orgasm or as something that as an adult I'm entitled to as long as I consent and someone else is consenting, and sex has no other morality around it, you are opening the door, and we have the doors wide open to divorce, to abortion, to a lot of the unhappiness that we're seeing in relationships.
So you said all the social.
And if I can weigh in on that really quick, sorry, cut it off there, but I find that part really interesting. So when she says about how the sexual revolution from Playboy to porn is, like, to me, I'm noticing a lot of things, pendulums. So you have a world where everything is so kind of closed off, and they were coming from a very religious country at that time. Everything was Christian, with Christian beliefs. You get married and you're together till death do you part. And then like the often tropes of like, well, now you're in this marriage and this guy's horrible to you and he hits you and he does all these terrible things to you and you can't get out of it. You're stuck in that forever. You're stuck with this torture. You're stuck in hell. And that's a bad thing. So you get this woman's revolution that comes through, and it kind of opens things up. So a pendulum happens, because that's bad. That shouldn't be. You shouldn't, like, a person shouldn't be stuck in a situation like that, right? So you get this pendulum, and now we've swung all the way to the other side. So my worry is, I hope that the religious side of it doesn't win again, and then you swing all the way back to now people are locked into the situation till death do them part, no matter how terrible it is. So when she does say, like, all right, like, STDs are down, assaults are down, these things are down, like all the bad things are down, but at the same time, like they say, people aren't getting married anymore. People aren't making these really important lifelong commitments anymore. So it's like, yeah, maybe the pendulum swung too far. And not to say, oh, get rid of porn, make it illegal, because I don't believe in larger government. I say small it up as much as you can. But culturally, maybe there is an argument there to be said that people who do consume porn, if they don't do it in a reasonable fashion, just like a diet, you're going to get fat. And when you're fat, you're unhealthy, and it's a bad life choice that's going to lead to bad things, because that is a very fair pendulum to point out that, I mean, you look back to the 30s and the 40s, were people getting divorced all the time? Were they having children out of wedlock all the time? Like, yes, okay, grape is down and this is down and that's down, but it's also down? The thing that matters the most, family. So,
and I wonder how much you can tie the decline in marriage with inflation. Like, are a lot of people going, God, it's impossible to buy a house and provide for family. God, I can't even afford to get married. Like, I wonder how much that has to do with it, and not just the use of porn. I don't think porn is single-handedly responsible for. I think it's just cost of living is through the roof.
No, it's got to be multiple things. I don't want to blame any ilk on just one thing, and I think you're so spot on. Inflation is terrible right now. I mean, it's only 15%. No, let's try 40%.
I think people are watching porn because of inflation to make themselves feel better.
It's like a quick fix.
Just a joke, guys. Sorry.
Keanu's computer probably died.
It sure did. She sure did. I did another podcast. She's back though. All right, but I had the whole thing on. I've been listening, so I'm caught up.
Yeah. But I do think when it comes down to like yes, granted, you have the inflation side of it. You have also women started to work from the women's movement, so now they're in the workplace, which also caused a lot of the inflation because now when a household has two incomes, they're going to pay people less, and also when you have more workers in the workforce, you pay people less because you have more supply of people and you don't have to overcome demand at that point. So you pay people a lot less. So there's a lot of things that kind of come into that as well that also devalued everything. So, but I do think when it comes down to the pendulum of like sexualization in general, you know, we opened it up in the 60s, really, like the free love movement, right? Like,
and birth control probably also, you know, you can, there's less pressure to get married because it's like if you get pregnant, you can just 86 it. So I think that contributed.
Yeah, definitely the schmishmortion.
Schmishmorshman
effect, right? Let's get back on the
agrees with you, but I'm pointing out that abortion rates have fallen 41% since the 90s.
But abortion rates since porn has been entered into the mainstream,
has
gone up over the last 50 years dramatically.
But it became widely available in the late 90s. So the CDC abortion rates have fallen 41%
I don't think the data shows
since the
what you're saying it's
1990s. People look it up. This is the CDC that's saying this.
CDC also said things about a virus recently
that weren't. My question to you is that if it's such a terrible thing, where are these terrible outcomes?
And I'm trying to say that porn, whether it was the Playboy porn or it's the vastly available internet porn. I think that they are part of the same problem, which is divorcing meaning from sex and welcoming, putting arms around hedonistic culture that breaks down families and breaks down marriages. And I'm saying that in the last 50 years in this country, we have seen unprecedented divorce, unprecedented abortion. We've seen unprecedented STIs. The sexual revolution's harm
Are we talking about the sexual revolution or porn? Because I'm not talking about 50 years. I'm talking about since porn became widely available. You guys are saying and all these terrible things, teen mom porn, so violent. Where are the outcomes that show that this is such an harm? Because I'm not seeing that. I have 3 studies here. Actually, there's a lot of evidence that porn has a cathartic effect.
Do you think it's bad, Jasmine, that the average first age of exposure to pornography is 11 years old?
I don't think that's ideal, but I don't think
and I'm not asked. I said, is it bad?
Yeah, I think it's bad, but I'm not saying that it's so bad that it's leading to such terrible outcomes because it's not. Where are these outcomes?
What happens when children are exposed to pornography?
Actually, there's also a lot of conflicting data on that. A lot of the data on this is really frustrating.
Huh?
Take iPads away from your kids. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not finding it probably at school. If
I mean, right. You don't have control over what your kids' friends are showing them, but right, you can.
Yeah.
I suppose
you can control what happens in your own house.
Right.
Well, the first porn I ever saw was one of my friends. He said, he told us in school on a Friday, he's like, hey guys, you got to come by my house this weekend. I found something crazy. And we all went to his house and he found his dad's nudie mags. You know, we were like 8. So it's like,
and are you
can't stop it.
Sexual deviant, Fealty? Are you addicted to pornography?
Even I was saying earlier with the range of porn, I feel like the range of what's out there has gone down a lot. And a lot of that's good. A lot of that craziness did not need to necessarily be on the internet. You know, like bottles and butts and death by horsing. You know?
Death by horsing. That sounds like a dessert.
Death by horsing.
Imagine that. You've been found guilty of crimes. It will be death by horsing.
Death by... yeah. Now, that would make people behave in a kingdom.
Yeah.
Yes.
But at the same time...
Hey, quit horsing around.
Yeah. That's what leads to it. That's the crime. You were horsing around in general, and that's why you go out that way. But did that make me a depraved soul? No. I mean, it's been a long time since I've done, you know, those acts with a person or even been in a relationship. But even when I've been in a relationship, I'd say I'm probably one of the more vanilla people out there. I feel weird saying words about body parts. Like,
Yeah,
I can't even really say to a girl like, yeah, you know, go down there. I can't even say, I can't even be like, yeah, go down there, do that thing with the thing. You know the thing. Like, I turn into freaking Joe Biden. You know the thing. Do the thing with the thing. You know the thing.
There.
Yeah, so it's like, these you could see these things, but I really wonder if how much is it of who you are as a person. Just like with cheating, if you cheat, who you are as a person has downsides with your character, your content of character. If you watch a death by horsing, and then next thing you know, you're going out to all the horses everywhere, it's your content of character that caused that, not the porn itself.
And, and to the point of like he said an 11-year-old was exposed to porn, the average age, then you may as well get rid of the entire internet, because they could be exposed to something that will influence them. I don't want children because I'm afraid if it scraped its knee, let alone didn't like me because it couldn't look up from its iPad. But that's just me. My feelings. I don't think, and I wouldn't be able to help but give it an iPad, so if it were crying. So that it's just not for me. But there's something that's going to influence everybody, and I do worry. Like when I was working in restaurants for like years and years, the Upper East Side especially, they give a kid an iPad and it just.
I know, it's sad to see.
So,
well, that's also yet again. I gotta, Keanu, 1 second. Let me push back on that really quick.
Go ahead.
Yet again, that's content of character. It's the content of character of the parents and the child. Like if you hand a child an iPad and give them Minecraft and explain to them all the wild things they could do in Minecraft, you could build a literal functioning computer in Minecraft.
Yeah.
That like literally all the parts, the way like there's things called redstone that act as wiring, and there's other blocks that become automated, and then the way the blocks move together, like literally someone built a whole computer in Minecraft. They built a functioning calculator, and your character could click buttons and actually calculate mathematics, plus, minus, multiplication. Yeah, like your child could pretty much learn computer coding. Like that's the basis functionality of computer coding. So if you hand your child a iPad and you don't have any type of foundation of utilize this to become better, and you just hand it to them and let them go willy-nilly at it, then yeah, you have a chance where it's just going to turn them into a drone. But you have to be the leader. You have to show children and raise them. Right now, we have a problem with people not raising children. They give them the iPad to just have them pass time, just like our parents sat us in front of a TV, and then our TV raised us. We got raised by Full House, Home Improvement, and all these shows
Married with
growing
Children.
up. Yeah, Married with Children. That's what raised us. So nowadays it's the iPad. But at the end of the day, it's the content of the character. Look at all of us. We were raised on those shows. And are we ruined people? No. It's what you do with things in life.
Yeah.
It's your parents got to tell you exactly right. I just don't. That's why I don't know a solution for it. If I would feel like if I had a kid, then yeah, I'd be like, all right, you want the phone to play with the phone, so you shut up. Go ahead, because I feel like I'd be frustrated. I don't know how to help you, but
I think you'd be a great mom.
No, you think, but
I do.
I think I'd
look
be
at the way
fine.
you treat your animals. You love them. I think you'd love that kid so much. It'd become your best friend.
Oh, I know I would, but that's my anxiety. I'm like, if you break a fingernail, I will die. That would be my entire anxiety. It's not worth my time.
What a horrible existence. The child will be overloved. Oh.
And he's no better. My God, his cat didn't eat for a day and he almost passed away. My God, it would have no, like, we would just be like, we just love you too much. And that's okay. It's just not something for me. So I can't say one way or the other how somebody should parent. I'm not shitting on the iPad babies or whatever, but I think you got to get rid of the entire internet if you want to, like, say is porn morally bad or not, or just really the Amish people, whatever. You could go live there as well. I don't know. We're all shades of gray, whatever's best for you. But I don't think it's morally bad to watch porn. Kids are probably exposed to it early, but I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the entire world. as long as they're not really, really, really little. So.
Well, so then, Chrissie, all right. So with this, it keeps on coming up of, would you have to take down all of porn, right? Or could this be a cultural thing that needs solving? Is this maybe a raising thing that needs solving from parents, laws? Like what? So what do you think, like, from what you've heard so far?
I think the easiest thing to control is your house. Like before you can, I'm going to try to be an activist and affect policy and laws. It's like you can, it's probably easiest just to like work on your own parenting and like deal with your own kid. Don't be naive about what's out there. Definitely like check on what your kid is watching. And also like have a conversation with them about, don't just assume like, oh, my kid's and I've never heard of it, or oh, he wouldn't be curious about that. It's just like,
ooh, I like that. If you just
like,
about it, be like,
yeah, be like, hey, have you, you have the talk, and then, I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, it'd be an interesting question for dads. It's like you probably have a sex talk, but then maybe you also have a porn talk, like conversation of like, and who knows if that's the same conversation, but yeah, you have to just be like really in touch with like where your kid's at and like keep the communication up. It's
that
tricky.
little baby can be a mama's boy.
Oh.
Like, and would you tell me what this is that I saw in school today? And then you'll be like, listen, don't hang out with those.
I'll be like, that's your aunt.
Longer.
Look, that's your aunt Keanu. Don't look at that.
No harm.
Look, she knew you ever since you were a 7-week-old bean in Los Angeles.
There she is. Right. No, you'll be like, that's your aunt Keanu.
That's your aunt Kiki.
That's so cute. You guys will be open and like, that's the way you got to be. My parents, we were like, that's just, you are who you are. If you have a question, ask us. We're not going to stop you from watching things. We're going to, I just don't know what it is nowadays. And I sound like old when I say that, I guess, but it's every tiny little baby I know knows how to work an iPhone.
So we're basically we're basically solidifying that you can't get rid of porn. It can't be gotten rid of.
Not in our lifetime.
Yeah. And even if you try, I mean, we've touched upon the countries that have women that wear clothing head to toe, and still untoward things happen there.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's reported that it's a lot. So we've covered that you can't get rid of porn. You can't even get rid of like real life porn where a woman's just walking around untowardedly and she now has to wear clothing.
Untowardedly.
Right.
Yeah. And then so as per this debate, to bring it back to the debate here, they're debating over whether or not porn is good or bad. So out of all the realms of you can't get rid of it, you can't stop it too, because even if you try and make a law about it, it's not going to stop, because anything could really be porn.
Supply and demand will never cease.
Exactly. People can always get a VPN. There's always ways around it. And people will find it and they will seek it out. It'll never stop. But so inherently, though, from what they're saying, is porn, though, good or bad? So I would propose, I think the only last realm of questioning whether or not good or bad is the cultural aspect of it, as per seen through less marriages happening.
It's so tricky because you can't observe porn in a vacuum. It's not like we have these trends over the last, what do you want to say, like 20, 30 years or more. It's not like you can observe the presence of porn or not. There's all these other factors. There's the economy. There's social media. There's how we relate to one another. There's the Me Too movement. There's
what constitutes porn to you?
There's feminism. There's so many other factors that might contribute to less marriage, less kids being born, more sexual violence, fatherless homes. that's a whole nother can of worms to open if you want to get into like
True.
Cultural imprisonment or like, I mean, I can put that in a better way, but another kind of societal trend, because it's really tough because you can't just take porn by itself. All these other things are going on at the same time.
I think because of social media too, our perspectives on the world are warped. So you can't categorize even America in one way. The majority does this. My perspective of what I look at and watch, or not porn wise, even social media, you simply cannot do it, and it's because of the internet. So one person's perspective is I know I say shades of gray a lot, but we're more than ever all shades of gray. Also, I wrote this down, and why did I do it? The question is it good or bad? For some people, it's good. For some people, it's bad.
And there could be people masturbating to our good friends, Melanie Mack and Brittany Fenny, who are not like not selling their sexuality, but like there could be guys who, like, when their girlfriend falls asleep, they're fucking jerking off to Brittany Fenty. You know what I mean? So it's like then you get
there could be someone doing that right now, Chrissie.
I hope people are
right
masturbating
now.
to this show.
If you're an internet person, you better assume no matter what you're doing, Fealty, I know somebody must be jerking off to you right now, Fealty.
I hope.
You're an internet
In
person.
fact, if you're thinking about it in the chat, I implore you to here. We will give you the opportunity to get it going here. Solo layout. Just focus on his delicate features. Oh, wow, he took himself out of the room.
I'm telling you, if you're on the
I have the power.
Could be jerking off to you. I'm sure people come on, there could be anything on the internet. I don't care if you are Melanie Mack reading the Bible.
You could be a creep who's asking for foot photos and DMs. You could be someone who loves OnlyFans. You could be someone who's like, oh God, I fucking love Brett Cooper from the Daily Wire. And she's not trying to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's.
But see, that's the pendulum, though. That's the pendulum I was pointing out earlier. So the way that the religious side of it leads to then everyone's married. Now you're locked into this situation till death do you part, right? But also culturally, when you go into the religion side of it, that's how you end up in a situation where people have to wear clothing from the top of their head to their feet. So like when you're talking about like anything can technically be porn, that's the pendulum. That's now you have to wear, when you go outside, you have to wear clothing from the top of your head to the bottom because you know what?
Winter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would love to. It's freaking cold out there. But see what I'm saying? So it's like we got to stop these pendulums from happening. Because like you say, like you can't stop it from happening. You can't stop the porn. It could happen to any girl, anytime, any place. A guy, as long as they see him, could take care of, and vice versa. Girls too.
You also can't really stop the pendulum either. You only have control over yourself because, like, what is a pendulum? But a lot of people getting sick of the same thing, and you might not be in that group. You might be outside of that. So you're either going to think, the pendulum's swinging back, or you're gonna be like, no, this is a necessary societal change. We're recalibrating here. So, and sometimes you'll agree with the pendulum, and sometimes you'll be like, oh, this is a bit much. But again, you only really have control of yourself and those close to you.
I just feel like you take people one-on-one, and then I'm wearing a fuzzy sweater. I could get on the train right now. I don't typically. It's sort of dirty down there. But somebody, even if I'm wearing a sweater and just like sitting there in if I put a coat on over this, some man is always going to be jerking off on the subway.
I took a picture of a dude with his peen out.
Whatever, right. But what's that?
Was it a selfie?
No. Remember, I posted on my Twitter somewhere, if you look up like Ghostly Fealty and NYC Subway, there was just a homeless man sleeping on the bench with his peen out. His pants just opened up with like in 34th Street at the station.
Right. We're all humans. I don't necessarily, I feel bad for the men jerking off on the subway, but is that like, I don't know. There is a thing of human nature in it. If you stifle people and tell them they can't do something and take away all porn, and that's never going to happen. Does it make people not get married anymore? I don't know. But I would assume not. And yeah, if it's
right, or has there always
not.
has infidelity always been a huge component of most marriages, but it wasn't as known because it was pre-social media. It was don't ask, don't tell. It was, oh, he's on a business trip. And now it's like it's in our faces more. So it's like that's causing the breakups for a lot of folks. Is people were able to get away with so much more before social media.
Well, look at the Bible. Look at like entire cities were completely demolished in the Bible because they became too crazy with their lifestyles and everything. So it's like humanity doesn't necessarily change. I feel like the brain hasn't necessarily changed at all since like, you know, our earliest days of humanity, going back thousands of years. I mean, who built the pyramids? Was that 5,000 years ago? Was it 15,000 years ago? We don't know. Yeah, but we don't know. So humanity of our level of capabilities as is now has not changed in possibly, you know, 10,000, 20,000, whoever knows how long, and maybe even longer. Maybe there were civilizations here longer. So if humanity hasn't, our computer system in our bodies hasn't changed, our capabilities haven't changed. So, you know, cheating and infidelity and, you know, even porn. I'm sure someone drew a stick figure on a wall and maybe a guy or a girl was flipping the bean or, you know, taking care of a situation back in the day. I like that you paused before the whack off face and like your camera froze. So like it was just like out of nowhere. You were like,
that's how I do it. It's a caveman jerking off to a hieroglyphic.
But yeah, so I say let's go for an in summation. What do you say? So inherently, do you think porn is bad or good?
That's like saying, are guns bad or good? Is alcohol bad or good? Are sex toys bad or good? It depends what your self-control is, how it's affecting you, like any other vice. It's up to you to figure out, oh God, is this something I'm ODing on? Or is this something that enhances my life sparingly? Is this something that causes real world intimacy problems or is like a barrier to intimacy? It's just like drinking could be, just like gambling could be, just like shopping. I don't know. Shopping's a harmless crime.
No, well, all right. I'm in my experience, because I can only go off of my experience, I venture to say that porn is good. Yes, I have an OnlyFans, guys, but it's very mild. All right, I'm not. It's not like I'm getting like railed on there or anything. But in my experience with porn, set aside my OnlyFans that nobody should even look at because I'm an awkward human being. But aside from that, in my experience, it's good. It does make me feel good about myself to look at other people's bodies. I don't have an obsession with it. In my relationship with who I'm going to marry, it's not a problem. You could say the same thing about, all right, am I a drug addict? No. Did I experience life in college when I did Molly or meth on accident one time? Yes.
Wow.
For my experience, that was good. It led me to know I don't like meth. So no, I would never say bad or good. I would never say black or white. But from my experience, I'm comfortable with porn. I don't see it as a negative thing in society, especially if we stifle humans. I think that there would be a lot more like shootings in a grocery store if we took away porn from a bunch of the boy-run media. That's just what I'm saying.
It would be black market. It would still happen. It would just be oh, none of the criminals should have guns, but they get them illegally and they're killing people with them. So it's like
exactly. So no, I
think if you really want it, you're gonna get it.
Okay, so then let's take it just one more, or a couple of, who knows how many more questions. But so do you think that the porn industry, in a way, is an exponentially rising attempt to try new things that could lead to sectors of doings of things that are very bad? So, with underage and...
You're saying, Fealty, is it giving people ideas that wouldn't normally organically occur to them? Like it wouldn't occur to somebody that's like, I should look at this Mr. Hand video, or like.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the industry itself. So in the porn industry itself, just like on TV, right? We could never imagine on TV something like Jackass would ever exist as a TV show where people are stapling their balls to a table or something, right? But over time, TV has to try newer and newer things to keep the eyes watching it. And eventually you can't watch the same show over and over again, no matter how many times you change out the cast. It's going to get lame and old. So as things need to progress and be tried and become new and go into sectors that are even more and more experimental, do you think it could be bad insofar as that it could lead down a road to where you have bottles going in butts and horses?
If it makes you happy, I do not ever fuck an animal. That is where I draw the line. I can't. That bestiality, absolutely not. They are not like us. But the bottles and all that stuff, I don't know. But if they're not harming themselves, I would say that's mental illness. But that's maybe a person that shouldn't be watching porn. You have to go with.
Yeah, but how could you stop someone from harming themselves? So now we're going to just stop all harm from oneself? So, well, don't smoke a cigarette anymore. You're harming yourself.
Can't stop people from you can't stop people from doing really anything if you think about it. So
is anything bad?
Yeah,
you could go Buddhist on it. You could go, it's not good, it's not bad, it just is. It's a thing that exists, and it's up to you to decide how it makes you feel, and then communicate that to the person you love to like promote.
Hurting other people is the worst thing. You can't hurt other people, and you do your best if you're a good person. But there are sociopaths out there. There are people that are born sociopaths. There are people with born mental illness. But what's good for one person isn't necessarily good for another. And censoring people. Where do the jokes end? Right? I mean, if we don't like, or am I frozen? Or
no, you're there. Wait.
Oh my God, you guys were just bored with me. I thought.
No, we were intently listening to you.
No, it's like censoring anything. If a joke that I find funny on stage, that somebody else doesn't, and they want to raise their hand and say that's shitty, doesn't mean I can't tell that joke. I recommend not go to a comedy show. You just really can't censor anything like that. I don't think it's
that's an outcome, though. I don't think necessarily the point of that debate was to go for the outcomes. So like that's an outcome of, okay, if it's bad, you have to censor it, right? I think they were more so talking about the inherent existential of, is this thing as an existential bad or good? Instead of focusing on like, well, what do you have to do if it's bad? It's focusing on, is this thing inherently bad or good? So if it is something that over time has to evolve and grow and could potentially grow into something bad, then is it bad or good? Not saying, okay, what's the outcome of if it is either way, just is it? You know what I'm saying?
Think the porn industry, actually, since it's an industry now, I don't know. We've talked to a lot of porn stars, Chrissy, right? They are tested all of the time. They make sure everybody's safe and comfortable. It's clean. It's so if they're happy doing it and it's not like some nefarious thing, then I don't see any bad.
And you can't impress upon a lot of the biggest problem I think I see a lot of people, or the critique people make of porn stars is like, or anything in between. Like, don't you feel bad? You're contributing to the breakdown of marriage. Don't you feel bad? Husbands are cheating on their wives with you. It's like, it's up to everyone's own morality and like how they can sleep at night. It's like, look, if that works for you and you don't feel guilt, or you don't deal with married guys, or whatever it is, or you like, do what works for you in your own moral compass, just like if your consumption of porn, like, do what works for you in your moral compass, you know, what is not going to sabotage your relationship, what is going to be and then there are some people that are like addiction prone, and just like with drugs or gambling, they'll just be like more and more and more, and they'll be like, you have to keep upping the ante to get the same effect. That there's always going to be a certain percentage of the population that just is addiction prone and can't help themselves.
This doesn't mean that alcohol should be illegal. Just because anything like this doesn't mean. Okay, wait. I mean, aside from what? Just hurting anybody in general, murder, right? Or whatever. You're probably not supposed to say that. Vices in life exist and can be okay. You know what? If a man that's not an alcoholic but had a bad day, wants to have a whiskey and it makes him feel better, I think that's okay. You know, but if you're an alcoholic and you have one whiskey and you can't stop drinking whiskey, Gino, I'm not talking to you, I swear. Then like you have to patrol yourself and be your own moral compass, because these things exist. Do I think porn is bad? No. I think you could say it about anything. I mean, to me, no, it's not bad.
You can argue that it is, but you can also argue that it's not, because the question here was, is it contributing to like the detriment of society? Is it bad for society?
Yeah.
You can argue that it definitely is. You can argue that it's not. It depends on your point of view.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
maybe it is what society utilizes it for. So right now, society is utilizing it for a career. It's utilizing it for a hobby. It's utilizing it for escape. It's utilizing it for fulfillment. You know, not all those things are bad to have fulfilled in general, right? But at the same time, I do think it is fair to say marriage is down a lot. Birth rate's down a lot. Yeah, which is very detrimental. When you don't have people to make the things you need anymore, and you don't have enough of them, well, you don't have enough things for everybody anymore. And that's food.
I'm wrong. Weren't we overpopulated? I thought we were. I don't know.
Well, it's
what
it's
the
not a
boy-run
matter
media
of,
wants you to believe.
no, it's
We're not going to have enough water in like a couple of years. So
no, it's not a matter of being overpopulated. You have to have a population coming behind the population that exists to be able to sustain the population that's already there. So it's not a matter of being overpopulated. It's a matter of to have stability. When you have this many people and now you have this many people can't make all the stuff to feed this many people and this many people.
Also,
you
do
know
we
what
have
I'm
enough
saying?
young people being born to take care of all of the more older people? There's more older people, right? Boomers are a perfect example. Do we have enough younger people specifically going into the medical industry that are going to be able to take care of all of these older people that are not fulfilling, they're not doing what's it called, replacement rates?
Yeah.
So you're taxing the medical and nursing home industry.
Yeah. And it's not just with physical means. It's not just by, the farmers making the food, the doctors making the medicines, the scientists figuring out new solves for cancer or something. It's not just all that. It's also financial, economy-wise. The elder generation's not spending money like the younger generation will. And you need money to be flowing in an economy so businesses can be open. So now all of a sudden your economy will completely collapse. And when the economy completely collapses, now the farmer's not making money anymore. It's a total categorical implosion of our entire system that is a part of the world. So when the religious people were saying about how you have a duty, they mentioned, it might not have been on this one, it might have been Andrew Wilson from Sunday or Tuesday, but he was mentioning you have a duty to have a family, to society in a way. Which, yet again, the pendulum could lead to that now you're forcing people to have kids. You shouldn't have to force people to have kids. Let me finish this, Keanu. Let me finish this. Sorry. But so there is a very large danger that we have. I mean, there's such a plethora of dangers we have coming forward to us. If you watch Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, you'll find that very interesting. But there's so many dangers that are ahead of us in the very coming close years that are all culminating to which one's it going to be that could be the biggest detriment to society. But when it comes down to birth rate and actual relationships, I think that's the longer term danger, because that doesn't come into effect for a decade or 2 decades. And what happens over the span of this hasn't been happening for a year where birth rate's down. It's been steadily going down for over a decade. So it's hard to bring it back to the fact of porn if that's one of the factors for something that could be so unbelievably detrimental to humanity. Because how are we going to make our food if you don't have enough people to farm the cows and the chickens and the vegetables and all these things? Yes, we do have automation catching up. We do have robots that'll be able to do that eventually. We have automated driving tractors and all these things that could do these things to, cut the corn and take the husks off, and then next thing you know, you have an easy ear of corn. But at what rate can that be created to counteract the fact that we have less people existing? So if porn is a factor of that, it could be very bad. And at the same time, it can be good. But what does it come down to in totality? It comes down to, what is the culture? What is our culture? Is it porn? I don't agree. I think it's our culture. Our culture doesn't care about society as a whole. And that comes into, economics, schooling, every part of our culture right now doesn't care about society. It cares about me. I care about me. And in a way, that's how that gets linked to porn that could say it's bad. Because when you watch porn, you're caring about me. You're not caring about the person in that video. You're not caring about what that person in that video is having to attempt to create new content and make it edgy and make it different and make it fresh to fulfill the want to fulfill the me over time, because the fulfillment of the me over time is going to change. I'm going to need something different. I'm going to have to try something new. I'm going to need to see someone different. So if I'm going to need to see someone different doing something different, over time, that person who was doing the thing I was watching before, I'm now not supporting anymore. Now they don't have a career. So the thing they put their whole life into, now they don't have a career. It's like being a YouTuber and like your whole community, like, oh, you do it for a year and now they want to see something new doing something new. And now they're watching a new channel or something different.
Couldn't you argue that by the time the old person gets sick of you, a new person, you'll be like a novelty to a new person, and then there'll be a steady flow of
to a certain point,
seekers?
Sure. Yeah, to a certain point, sure, but that everything has its finite amount. I mean, YouTube doesn't have billions of people watching it.
Well,
you're going to eventually get to the end of, just like, remember that time I told you I scrolled through all of Tinder and I got to the end of it. Everything has its end of a scroll. And same thing with content, same thing with everything. You will run out of the amount of people that can find you and be into you and want to consume you in everything. I'll get to the end of liking chicken parm someday. And I'll be like, all right, my new favorite thing is apple pie.
At the end of liking Skittles. There is no end to this.
Well, you never know. What if they come out with a Neuralink Skittle and now real Skittles no longer have the flavor you desire?
It could be. It could be, yes.
Yeah. You never know what's going to be made.
You could, those are good points. You could argue any of that, but I would argue to think that people aren't having kids because they can't afford them.
Yeah.
I think. Right. I highly doubt it has anything to do with porn. Millennials, especially, like they're the.
Wait, are you saying at all? Like, you saying porn has nothing to do with it at all?
I have done the research. I might not be qualified to say, but in my experience, is I have no student loans. I have no loans at all. My dad paid for my college out of pocket. Like, and that is not to be a braggart. It's to say like, if I even want to have kids less if I had to have student loans, or a lot of millennials. All right, we have a kid now. I mean, how could you even think of having a kid when you have so much student debt? And they told us we all had to. I mean, I'm not maternal in that way, and I'm too anxious. That's just my bottom line. Porn has quite literally, in my experience, nothing to do with it. Millennials are, they're the first generation that like, can buy a house way less easier than their previous generation. So if that's the family unit in the 50s was, well, you get a house, and
it's less attainable.
Wife, house, mom, dad, and then here's 2 kids, and we can afford this house, and we're all okay. Millennials didn't really get that, and I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm bad with my money or something, but I don't have a house. I'm living in New York. For me, it makes 0 sense financially to have a child to populate the earth. And I know a lot of people my age, they're like, yeah, I mean, maybe I'm married, but I don't feel financially responsible to be able to have a kid. So that's another societal thing. It has absolutely nothing to do with porn. If anything, porn is like maybe something to take your mind off your student loans. Doesn't mean it's like something bad. I don't think it's the detriment to society. I think that we're divided as a country and can't really see the other side of anything ever, because
I think it's
go ahead.
Go
ahead.
It's a combination of, it's all of it. I think it's a combination of fear relating to money and like being able to provide. Can I afford a family? Can I afford a house? And then you have these like cultural influences, like perhaps having to do with like glamorization of like the strong, single, I don't need no man type woman. We have these strong cultural influences that our whole, like what Fealty was saying, are the values of our society have shifted away from marriage, family, kids to like, I'm a dink. I do all these YOLO trips. I take out endless student loans. I get endless degrees. Maybe it is shifting more like women are having bigger jobs, and so they're just not as concerned. I would put some of that on feminism. Like they want to do other things and be moms and wives.
And that's
if I could just weigh in on that though, do you think though that maybe feminism? I would say feminism is something that led to porn. It was empowering of the woman and her body and her freedom, burning the bras, exposing the boobs, leading to Playboy and stuff like that, right? Like, it could be linked, and might be in a small way the kind of pendulum swinging from be demure, be the housewife, be in the kitchen to,
of that, right?
Yeah. So that we're linking it yet again though to porn. I mean, porn isn't just the videos that exist now online. I mean, there was Playboy for a very long time. And it was at that time, it was like society breaking, like, oh my goodness, there's in the middle of this magazine, there's a full body, I could see hair. Oh my goodness. I only knew hair existed because of my wife.
Was old. Want to know how I know he's old? The other day, I swear to God, he took my clothes off, and this is maybe TMI, but he said sex with a centerfold.
Oh,
that is the oldest reference of all time.
That's so cute. No, he's saying you're a vision.
Yeah. Did you then lay there like?
You're like.
I don't even open a People magazine, let alone like Playboy. It's just right. It's Adam and Eve, right? It's Eve's fault because she ate the apple.
And no, I'm blaming men. Feminism was started by men. That was absolutely.
Well, Okay, so wait, explain it, I guess.
To get more, I think there's a theory that to get, what do they blame on the Rothschilds? Like to get more, basically, more women into the workforce, to have more taxpayers, to have more tax dollars, to just beef up.
Even a vote, when women got the right to vote, the whole point of that was to get power. You know,
is that what we're saying? Yeah.
Well, no, not boy run media. I mean, corruption, governmental and, business and everything corruption. It was also get more people, like Chrissy said, more people in the workforce. And there is a desire to break down marriage. So, we go back and it's like feminism happens. Women are now starting to take nudie pictures, and there was the whole push of like women need to understand their bodies, and remember the vagina monologues? Does anyone remember that? My vagina is angry, like. So I mean, that's porn in a way. The vagina monologues was porn for women. It was feminism porn. Women would like go there like, yes, that's right. I don't like looking at it in a mirror. I would never hold a mirror down there and look at my pudenda.
I cannot tell you how many times I've turned down a vagina monologues moment in my days. And like, I'm not doing it. It's cringy. This is ridiculous. Like,
I watched it.
It's the weirdest thing ever.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Really?
God, I'm like, what the fuck is this? The vagina monologues. I don't think it's horrible. It's just
right. Like, were men more into their wives when that would be the only naked woman they could see? Like, would they be?
How would they know any different?
Would they be more excited to get with her if that was their only source of it?
That's just only going with men's human nature. It's always, that's my thing with religion. It's always, Jesus was not a man, but he certainly wasn't a hermaphrodite or something in between. It's like, it's always the man's thing and the woman has to bend on it. And like, it's like,
well, why is that woman bending? Why does that lead to woman?
Because it's in our nature, because we're like biologically more inclined to be like,
I'm not asking if it's in. No, I'm not agreeing with you on the fact that women are bending. Why? Like, at that time, a woman had a house, a home, a full life paid for, family vacations, a car, like all this stuff. But it's women bending to say, let's open up the doors to something that leads to them, taking the nudie pictures and having to have a career. Because that led to women having, not women being able to have a career, it led to them having to have a career. Because that allowed for payments of salaries to go down. Because the workforce got overrun with people, So then in turn, it made it so that they have to have a career.
Well, I wouldn't want to live in, I wouldn't ever not want to work. If I don't want to have a kid because of my anxiety, and I would be afraid.
So then women didn't bend and women don't bend, right?
Well,
because you can have a career, right?
But like women having to have a career or having to have something, it's like, well, why? I just look at people like people. I don't know. I don't think man, woman. I think it needs to be a bit. I have no problem with the family unit if that's what you want.
I don't want anything. I'm Socratic methoding you. You just don't realize.
I don't think the family unit is being like taken down by. Yeah, there are some things that I'm like, yes, it's got right. Do I think that we should be offering little boys manicures in preschool? I'm like, no, absolutely not. But like, it's just that weird thing where it's like, well, I don't think I'd be fulfilled as a human if it was like, oh yes, well, my life is paid for, and I just sit here and clean and cook, and the man will go off and sleep with a whore in Shanghai. I don't know. Like that's.
Is that true though? Like, so back then, were women really truly relegated to the home and only the home? Like, did they not go out during the day? Like, maybe the kids are out at school. Like, they had no friends. They had nothing they could do. I don't necessarily know about that.
I'm sure not. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
because we covered earlier that, like, look, humanity might not have changed. You know, you look at the Bible, they were having all this sex and cities would burn down in the Bible. So how much did humanity change, like, culturally? Like, because we were comparing it to porn and infidelity and everything. If humanity didn't change from the days of the Bible 2,000 years ago, right? Or more. So like I say, so if humanity doesn't change from then to now, then we look back at a time period where women did have less rights and they were, you know, like there was more culturally, I don't want to say clean because I don't really necessarily feel porn is necessarily dirty, but what would be explained as a clean way of living of you're just a wife and not just a wife, but you are a wife, and that's your duties pretty much. You're not going out there getting the job. You're not going out there and doing all these things.
That's perfect.
But if people don't change over time, are we supposed to say women weren't going out and having friends and having a nice day while the kids are at school and having a good time? Like, I highly doubt that. Like, that's prison. And I don't think that women bend. I don't agree that women bend. I think women are probably the least bendy, and I think guys bend quite often a lot. Sometimes more.
Right, I know.
But it depends on the way. I will say this, to be very fair, it depends on the way of bending. I think guys bend in different ways than girls bend.
You know
what? A guy will break his back every day for a woman, and a girl will bend emotionally and supportively
and compromise.
In other ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. You know what else that hasn't been mentioned that just came to me? Men do porn as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it takes two to tango. Pornhub, it's not just all girl on girl porn, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, but would you say OnlyFans is majority? You think it's even Steven?
I am not the best OnlyFans person to talk to. I don't know what a lot of other people do on OnlyFans, but
like content creator wise, do you think it's more men or women on OnlyFans?
It's more women.
Women, but I think a lot of the men on there make a lot of money, right?
Yeah, I'm sure, but it is predominantly women.
Right, and I don't think that that's just a factor in breaking up the family unit. If you feel like you want to have a family unit, I just don't think porn is the thing that's gonna kill that for you. I don't know. We started out naked, then Eve ate that apple because a snake told her not to, apparently. So, I don't know, and that's all just been I can't abide by this thing that societally porn is really making us that we're gonna stamp the planet out. If you ask Berg, who I'm not a huge fan of, Chrissy, you may know her. You've played her before many a time. She literally, in her experience, thinks that like we're dying because we're gonna run out of water and
oh god,
yeah, all of that stuff. But she really, literally, actually thinks that. So I think porn is the least of our worries. I think whatever the fuck she's saying is the least of our worries. Live our own lives.
Okay. So I have another question for you then. So I think that we've established, though, that in a way feminism led to porn in general, with the freeing of the woman, freeing of her body, burn the bras, show the boobs and everything. Let me finish. So if that's possibly something that led to porn's existence, was the freeing of the woman in a way. Because who's going to jack off to a dude? Girls think dudes' peens are nasty. And they say it quite often. And understandably, I guess it could be weird. Let me finish this because it's just leading up to a question. I'm trying to lead up to a question here. So if feminism led to, in some way, porn, the freeing of the woman, That's a cultural thing that changed. Feminism was a cultural change. It was society saying, as a culture, women need to have rights. Women need to have freedoms. Women need to be able to make their lives and live the life they want to live. So if it's a cultural thing that kind of led to porn, and now porn has become a cultural career such as OnlyFans, you don't think that culturally we could be getting hurt as per the marriage and families and everything from porn?
I can't. Well, what?
I think she froze. I think you froze, Keanu.
She's frozen.
Well, what do you think, Chrissy? Culturally, do you think?
Gosh. Yeah, there's several forces that led to the birth of the feminist movement. Part of it is, obviously a strong component of wanting, we'll have double the taxpayers, we'll have more, and then it gives the government the opportunity to be like daddy, and then the sort of glamorization of welfare and single motherhood, that's become very culturally accepted now. And then part of that is, women probably weren't feeling a certain type of woman wasn't feeling entirely fulfilled just being a housewife and a mom. So then like the women that are going to be more that are going to gravitate towards feminism are going to be like, I am kind of an artist or a musician, or like I kind of do want to go to school. I really do want to become a nurse. They're going to go for that. But it's like there's so many cultural forces you can add in. Yes, women being able to make their own income made them less reliant on their husbands, and therefore more freedom, and therefore they're less connected to their husbands, and therefore the family unit. Because without a wife and a mom, you don't have a family unit. Same thing, like if you don't have a dad, you can also add in and make a strong argument for like the incarceration specifically of Black men has led to the breakdown of the family unit. And you add in the glamorization and acceptance of being a single mom. There are so many factors going on here. And if you want to add like porn and OnlyFans, that's just an example of here's a way that a woman doesn't need a guy because she can make her own money. And so she doesn't need to start a family because she can pay for her own stuff. So then you're left with the people who just want to get married and have kids. You're also just left with the people who can, now they want to, but also can afford to, aren't afraid to, aren't too old to. There's so many aspects to it.
And also one of those ways those women can make money, OnlyFans, porn. So could it be a bad thing? I want to point out, I'm not on either side of this. I'm just asking questions here and trying to suss out every, aspect of this. Because a lot was said in that debate there. And see, Keanu's not broken. I did not break Keanu, chat.
My phone got too hot. I thought that was a fun conversation. Did it get too heavy? Oh my god.
No, people in the chat were joking because the timing of when you froze was pretty much right after I asked a question, and like you were like in your like first sentence of responding, and it's like you froze.
I don't remember the question, but my basic central thesis of all of that is, to me, and somebody was making fun of me about saying shades of gray a lot. We're shades of gray, and I think you got to move with society or get left behind. We're not like Bible times anymore. We're not like we were in the 50s. Yeah. We're not like we were when I was even in high school. But hopefully we can populate the earth and keep everybody happy. I don't think porn is something that's evil.
So in final summation, I think that we could say that through the thought journey of trying out questions, sussing out questions, and thinking about it logically from 3 different perspectives here tonight, I think we had a better chat than Destiny, Jasmine, Lila, and Trent. And
but less cleavage.
Other than mine, okay? I have the biggest cleavage here. But I think we can say maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. It's probably not good or bad. It is just what it is, right?
There is you have to take every single human experience one-on-one, in my opinion. It's bad for some people, it's good for some people. You just really can't debate the thing, to be honest.
I guess I would blame women's lib more than porn as to like the breakdown of
like the family. Yeah. Sure.
That's
yeah.
And would that be because that's more of a cultural thing than I would say porn is more of a physical kind of consumption thing, whereas women's lib is a mental thing, right?
And even before porn, there were always nudie mags. There was always like peep shows. There was always like guys could always cheat on business trips, whereas like
brothels,
women's lib, it's like it really provided a strong like break. It's like I really don't need a man. I really can pay for all my bills. It's like
and I'd say that's because the way women have been looked at because of maybe religion or society. If we were all equal from the start, then the pendulum wouldn't swing that way. Like it would be like
and it was feminism that took the family unit, the dynamic, took it from what it was, which was the man honors his wife by financially providing, and the wife honors the man by taking care of the kids in the house. And it was seen as we are giving each other a gift out of love. It's a deal we're both down with, and we respect each other. To now being a wife and mother is you're being oppressed. You're under the thumb of the man. You can't do what you want. You have to ask for an allowance, and he's in charge or something, and you're just an underling.
I wish it weren't like that. I wish it could be both, right? Because I don't think, Chrissy, you as a person would be happy like not being a comedian or
entertaining or being funny in some way. Like even if I wasn't doing comedy, I would have to be doing something funny with my life.
I wish it could be both. I guess feminism makes a lot of women feel like they can't just find a man that like wants to let them be a housewife and provide for them and like they take care of the kids and do all that stuff. In that sense, but that's a weird thing. I don't know.
It would have been cool to see an alternate universe, an alternate reality where like maybe not necessarily women's lib or feminism comes in, but like something else could have come in and given some women the opportunity to like, hey, I really want to become a doctor. And that should be a thing that should be cool and shouldn't lead down to the breakdown of the family. But instead women's lib just washed over all of culture and was like, and you add that in with sexual revolution. It just was huge, just a major change.
Or maybe what if Adam ate the apple and then the women had to go out and provide and then Adam had to be in a burqa? I think that might have changed society. You never know.
Really quick, the first female doctor was Elizabeth Blackwell, women's rights activist from 1821 to 1910. Elizabeth Blackwell was a British and American physician, notably as the first woman to earn a medical degree in the United States. So the U.S. was, I guess, the first country to allow a woman to even go to school and get a degree, and the first woman on the medical register of the General Medical Council for the United Kingdom. So I guess she got there too. Never mind. Blackwell played an important role in both the United States and the United Kingdom as a social reformer and was a pioneer in promoting education women in medicine. Her contributions remain celebrated with the Elizabeth Blackwell Medal, or annually women blah blah blah. Interest in medicine was sparked after a friend fell ill and remarked that had a female doctor cared for her, she might not have suffered so much. Which I think that sounds like propaganda to me. Like, oh, if only a woman took care of me, I wouldn't have suffered, because how could a man know? So 1821 to 1910, she was, I don't know if that's how long she lived. That's a pretty long time. Is that almost 90 years old, right?
How long she lived.
So really, we can blame, I think, the boomers for the breakdown of the family. Because if you think about it, they were coming of age in the 60s, experimenting with drugs, right? It was the free love time, Woodstock. And that was the first real generation to start going to college, was like our moms and dads. Yeah, the boomers. College was like, ooh, and so I think they really kicked off the breakdown of the family and a lot of other problems too. Chronically over medicated, even still, the ones that are still alive.
They're Xannies.
Yeah.
Housewives in the 50s, though, would take
Blame-
like, you know,
wine with
Klonopin.
breakfast.
Yeah.
But the wine with breakfast and amphetamines was like no big deal.
I cleaned the house today because
It's just a mimosa.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been a thing. Yeah. I don't know.
So I'm just gonna propose this. Everything we're saying, as what I feel that what both of you are kind of conveying, is if you're gonna say the liberals, the feminism, you're gonna say boomers. You're not saying the people, but you're saying the culture of the boomers, the culture of the liberals, the culture of the feminists. So it's not porn that's a problem. It's culture.
No.
Our culture is the
No,
problem.
because there would always be a nudie magazine. There would always be a peep show.
Yeah.
There's always going to be business trip cheating. There's always going to be women looking cute, whether they're in a tight turtleneck or a tube dress, like
Or a burqa.
But what?
Eyes
But what's?
might just be too bright. Like,
But the
I
detriment
would say
that's
I would say porn contributed more to encouraging a lack of self-control, I think, overall with men than necessarily the breakdown of the family and less marriages and less kids. I think it encourages a lack of self-control.
But do you mean it as per cheating or just
I think generally, because it's so easy to get. It's so easy to get that sexual need met with porn. It's not like you got to work for a woman's affection. You got to court her. You got to like bust your ass to see one tit. You know what I mean? Now it's like, I think it contributes to laziness in men. I think it contributes to like laziness in dating, laziness in like achieving goals overall for men. Because if it's just so easy to get that need met, it's like fast food.
Yeah, but
which I love.
But
As
let's
American, I'm a consumer. God.
So let's be fair though. So let's be fair. What you said earlier tonight is nothing's just one thing. So maybe, yes, some men get affected by the porn and they don't want to try. Like, they're happy with their hand. They're happy with the fleshlight. They bought themselves a doll. They don't have to deal with the heartache and
that sounds like
fear of
three very
women.
sad things. I don't think
Exactly. Yes.
really
Very,
is
very
happy
fair.
with
Very
that.
fair and well. Very fair and well said. But so could it also be fair to say that culturally women are also a lot harder to date right now, a lot more judgmental, a lot more picky insofar as they're trying to just get the largest peen. So they might not be trying to get the porn, right? And getting their rocks over the porn, but they're going
real.
after bad guys and getting a large peen.
I think this is the algorithm. I really don't believe that, like, we see so much of it online. The women that want the 666 club, the women that need the six figures, they need the tall
No,
guy,
I'm not saying that.
We see
I
a
wasn't
lot of
saying
that, but
though.
I don't think that's what most real women really give a fuck about. I think at the end
No,
of the
I'm
day,
not saying. I didn't say that.
okay,
I
this is
didn't-
what I'm saying though. I think most
Yeah.
women they meet who they meet, and they don't you can't control who you fall in love with. There's tons of women who end up marrying somebody who's not like compatible with them, but they just fall in love. And like, I just think it's a farce. I think that's the algorithm is serving guys this whole thing that no one will have you unless you make this amount, you're this tall, your dick is this big. I just think that's untrue, and that's really unhealthy for guys to like grow up seeing that, and then they feel totally unworthy for years over it.
Okay, so if I could, Keanu, one second. If I could re-clarify what I said, then I was more so meaning girls have a lot more of a chance. I do feel this truly. Girls have a lot more of a chance of going out and finding sex and sexual partners, and I do think girls a lot more often will stick with a dude because he has a peen that gets the job done.
No.
And I will refute you really quickly by saying you don't know not even one girl right now that is either in a relationship or married with someone who's horrible but has a good peen. And has never stayed in a relationship because
it's not even just penis size. It would be they're good in bed. There's good chemistry. It's
yeah,
not
no,
just
that's what
about
I'm meaning.
size.
I'm not saying size. It's that they know how to rock the world in the bedroom.
It's just sexual chemistry. It just comes down to like literal chemistry and not necessarily size.
Yeah.
See, for a guy, it doesn't matter. Like a guy, a hole is a hole. It's going to get the job done. That doesn't have the power over it.
That's very romantic.
But there are guys, before people in the chat get mad, I will say, yes, there are guys that will get completely controlled by a woman because, oh, she gives the greatest head or whatnot. That does exist, but I would say that that is the exception, not the rule for men. Whereas for girls, over my life, I could say I've known plenty of girls that have stayed in abusive relationships, horrible relationships, and terrible situations at their massive detriment. Like ruining their lives to the point where some of them got on drugs because of the guys, sold themselves because of the guys, and it was all because he was great at sex. And these guys
and that could be also
never
charming.
treated them right.
That could also be like it's
no.
charm and it's charm and it's chemistry. Fealty. Me and Keanu have both stayed with guys longer than we should have. That had so many red flags. And I'm telling you, it's not size. It comes down to like I never skill, but it's
yet
chemistry.
again I never said size.
You literally said size. You said
but I was saying it as per the utility in the bedroom.
No.
I re-clarified that pretty quick to be very fair.
An abuser, an abusive relationship,
yes.
Whether you had sexual chemistry with them or not. Sorry, Michael was texting me. Whether you had sexual chemistry with them or not, and they alienate you from things, you don't stay with them for their dick. That's a very, very ridiculous thing to say. They make you lose all your friends. I stayed with.
Oh no!
And there she goes. She probably got a phone call.
They corner you. They gaslight you. They cut you off from family, friends. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, and it happens.
But if good sexual chemistry didn't exist before that, though.
Oh no!
If he sucked in bed from the start and then started taking you away from everybody in your life, you think that girl's gonna stay there?
Oh, it's a very
She's gonna fall out of that pretty quick.
Okay.
You're bad in the bedroom and you start saying you can't see a friend. That girl's gonna say, "What are you kidding me?"
I know women who have zero intimacy and also they are not seeing friends and family, and it's a whole shit show of a mess.
No. Abuse. What you're talking about, abuse, is far from like sexual or whatever. They stay with that girl for stay with that guy for the
but
sex.
But if you could answer my question though, did they have good sex before that abuse?
I'm talking about me. But
we're talking about it in general.
Right.
Like, because Chrissy just said in response to Chrissy, you just said, girls that are in a relationship that they don't have sex, but did they have good sex before that? Did it start?
The ones that I know, no, they don't.
No.
Or haven't in like 10 years or something. Like it's
they haven't in 10 years, but the start of that relationship where they like.
No,
wow, this is great
I know
sex.
some that don't that never had it.
But is that some, or would you say it's a majority?
I don't know all of the people in the world. I only have my very small sample size of like 10 women. So
yeah, because like I said, from my sample size, I've seen many girls, like a dude who never gave them the time of day. But they're going down on them in bathrooms. They're hooking up in cars. They're having sex left and right. They're having sex in, little corners of an apartment building outside, trying to do everything to get this guy to give her even a semblance of a time of day.
Oh, but that's not their relationship partner or whatever. Yeah.
No, they end up dating the dude. And the dude still, even through dating, never gives them time of day, never cares. Exactly. Yeah, bad guys exist and bad girls exist. But I'm just saying culturally, let's bring it back to what we're talking about culturally. Is this a culture thing? Because the culture's become about sex, right? Because if we're comparing it back to the early days of feminism, you didn't have sex till marriage, right? I'm sure it happened. You're in the car at the soda pop place and, a little blowjob happens. So
You're saying that it did happen or didn't happen?
I'm sure it did happen, but I'm trying to get to a sum up point here. If you haven't noticed,
No,
so
I get
if
it.
it's not porn, if it's not this, if it's not that, right? What is a universal that's kind of spanning across all of this? To try and get a sum up point, is it culture? As something that can kind of go throughout all sectors of it. So it's not just the culture of our economics. So women are working, they need to make money, right? Now nobody's making enough money. They can't get a house, right? Because nobody's making enough money. People aren't starting to get married anymore because why? Well, it could be porn, it could be this, it could be work, it could be, debt, it could be this and that. But all these things come down to culture. Our culture is that it's okay to pay people next to nothing. It's okay for corporations to control everything because our culture is just like, hey, make your bag. It's okay to sell yourself through porn, which I'm not saying is necessarily good or bad, but our culture is that it's okay. So is the one thing that's bringing all of this together to try and get one wrap up kind of point, is it culture? Would you say that maybe is the summation?
Life is a combination of culture and humanity. You cannot just knock it down to just one thing, and you have to move with the times or get left behind. You cannot, and you have to use your own morality to live, You cannot put things in such general terms ever. In my experience, you just can't. What's good for one person is not good for another. For a religious right to say porn is wrong and you're going to go to hell, well, we're the devil. Great, fine. That's good for them. That makes them feel good. You cannot wrap it up in such general terms, I don't think. Is porn bad? In my experience, no.
Okay, well, we've covered that. We've covered that. We don't need to go back. So, Chrissy, really quick.
Is it culture or
is that just a universal? Really quick, yes or no? Is that just a really quick universal? Is it shared by most of the things we've talked about? Could culture possibly be a universal thing that might be the problem? Instead of porn, instead of all these things, is it culture? Really quick, Keanu, yes or no?
I think since I won't call it a problem, I will not call it a problem. I would say culture affects everything. Yes. How about that?
Okay, Chrissy, you.
I don't think that's too simple of a question to answer. I would blame it more on the powers that be picking on the foibles of humanity and monetizing them and taking advantage for their own gain and literally studying humanity over decades, getting in our heads, taking advantage of our most weak points of our personality for their own gains, whether it's ripping apart the family to improve the welfare state, whether it's adding more women to the taxpayer pool, and it's like, oh well, we want government to be daddy, we're going to give government more control, so we're going to do all we can to split the family apart. It's just you got to follow the money. Who has the most to benefit from the trends that our culture has been going into the direction of? It's no accident someone's financially benefiting from every single downfall aspect of our culture. So it's like I don't really even blame people. I really blame like the fucking deep state, man. That's my button on it. I blame
it's the boy running media's fault. It always is.
Okay. All right, so let's just do these two super chats. I think we've kind of summed it up pretty well, everybody. If you want to weigh in, you're going to have to do it in the chats, right, Chrissy? What do you say we do these two super chats and kind of call it a night because it's almost
work of reality.
Chrissy must be exhausted. I'm sorry.
Not me. It's just I have people who have jobs that need to go to sleep. 99% of sex workers did not personally choose that job. It was thrust upon them, and legalizing it opens up a huge exploitation market. How would you know that statistic? It's interesting. Frank Wolf Connell, some men feel porn is safe, no rejection, no Me Too, no pregnancy, no STDs. Absolutely, especially after a traumatizing breakup or divorce, it seems like the safe choice. I feel that. All right, thank you guys for watching. This was a very interesting combo.
I feel like we solved the world's problems.
We did.
Yes.
We did solve it.
Or we caused a lot of people to be very mad at us in the comments.
Oh, they can.
Time will tell. All right. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.